What's going on, everybody? How we doing? What is going on? Happy Tuesday. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, no matter where you are. Glad you're here. What's going on? Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a big night, folks. Oh, y'all popping off. We're not even live yet. Popping off. I appreciate all the love. Welcome, everybody. Tonight's a big night. We got a lot of fun things to do. We're building some cool apps. Microsoft Azure is sponsoring us. Thank you so much. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot of surprises, a lot of swag to give away, a lot of cool stuff to build and to work through and to feel comfortable with. So let's get in, let's get settled, and we're going to get into it. For those that are regulars, we won't have chat this evening, just as a request. So all you folks that are wilding won't show up in where this gets syndicated to and spread to. But we got a lot of fun stuff. I'm really excited. We had so many people in here before I even got here. But first, did you all see those numbers? Hold on, wait a second. Dab Gang, 75. Let's go. 75. Congrats. That's huge. For folks that are new, we are running a free 30-week software engineering bootcamp. And we do that with an amazing community that we've built. 3,000 people strong on our Discord and a whole heap of mentors and folks that want to see you be successful. One of the folks from our community, the Bolical, you see them here in chat, they've been doing their own stream. We decided to start something called the 100 Dev Stream Team, where our community has not just me, but other folks that are coming from all different angles. So if there's anything you get stuck on, you have other folks to get help from. If you want to see individuals that might be struggling with code, there are folks doing that as part of the stream team. And so we're just getting started with that, but it's great to see that we have so many wonderful folks that are coming out tonight in force. But as always, before this stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we got the Bolical streaming. They're always reviewing stuff we did in class, things people might get stuck on, things that are harder, extra, or things that you just want to go through. So we're going to talk about 100 devs. We're going to talk about our community, but I just wanted to highlight that 75 folks coming in with the raid. That's huge. Congrats. That's wild. Let's go. So tonight, we got some fun things. We are going to add logins or authentication, if that's what you want to call it, to our applications. So for anyone that's new, we've been working up to this class. We've been building up to it. We've been building out a to-do list. And tonight we give users the ability to log in and all the other cool things that we get when it comes to login. So we're going to build up to that. We're going to work up to that. But I have a lot of people to thank real quick. I saw somebody redeem this. I think somebody tried to redeem the Simba Cam. So before I jump into all this love here that came through, let me bring back the Simba Cam. There you go. That's live. You can hear them in the mic. It gets picked up. You can hear them going to town. There is a greenie in that toy that they have been trying to get for a while. Now, the hardest thing about SimbaCam is that Simba likes to roam. He likes to not just be on the comfy Tempur-Pedic. We splashed out on this thing, and he likes sitting on the floor. So the room is a maze of contraptions to keep them in this spot. Otherwise, they would take the tool. Yes, I'm talking about you. I am. Yes, you're a good boy, and I'm talking about you. So there's just like boxes and and like there's like a wire somewhere just so that they don't go sit on the floor and SimbaCam gets ruined. So they're a good boy today. They are definitely going to town on that greenie. And SimbaCam is back in full force. And we will also be having a new lovely person joining the stream team, Mashi. So Mashi's cool in a little bit, but we might bring Mashi on cam as well. People have been waiting for this, so I wanted to make sure we got it in right off the bat. No play, no games here. We have 110% level 5 hype train. That is wild. Before I even came on, we had so many folks in here. I just want to make sure I say thank you to everyone. The Art of Missy, thank you for the 5 months. I appreciate you. L42, thank you for the 2 months. The Mango Dorian, thank you for the 6 months. The D4NE, thank you for the 5 months of Prime, spending all of Bezos's bucks. Medium Fry, hey, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. I really appreciate that. Dro, thank you for the 2 months. Anonymous Jira, thank you for the 100 bits. Wolfpack of 1, thank you for the 6 months. Thanks, Leon. Hey, thank you. Congrats again. Garrett Thor, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Sarat, thank you for the 6 months of Prime. Spaghetti About It, thank you for the 7 months. With the thanks, Leon. No, thank you for being here. Honey and A with the 6 months. Magic Marcos with the 5 months. Electro Jesus with the 6 months. Hey. Pogo with the 6 months. Hennessy Dev. What a name. Hennessy Dev with the hydration. I don't got any Henny on deck, but I do have some lovely cranberry juice. I'll take that. We can just pretend. Thank you for the hydration. Sorry, there's a lot here. I want to get through everybody just so we can say hello. Get in. Let's get settled. Old Coder Chick, thank you for the 100 bits. Booty Liquor, thank you for the 6 months. AP Thug with the 4 months. Microsoft Stream, indeed. Welcome. Creator, thank you for the 100 bits. Vosk, thank you for the hydration. Tam Sauce, thank you for the 3 months. And the Real Johnny Cakes, thanks for the portfolio review. Hit me up on Discord. Send a mod mail on Discord and we'll get that portfolio review going. All right, everybody. We're in. We're ready. Rocky Road with the Prime. Thank you so much. We got a lot of fun stuff tonight, so I'm going to get right to the slides. If you're new around these parts, we are running a free 30-week software engineering bootcamp. It is a fully free way to learn to code. We're a little bit more than halfway through our program. We went through everything from learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Remember when HTML was hard, folks? Remember when we were stressing the HTMLs? Remember when we were stressing the CSS? Remember when we had a variable and we were like, what's that do? Remember that? Remember that? It's not that long ago. It's not that long ago. But look at us now. Look at us now. Building full stack web applications. We're going to add authentication to them today. Look at us now. So, welcome. If you're interested in learning to code, we have the best community ever to learn to code with. We're live every Tuesday, Thursday, and then we also have our office hours on Sunday. You are welcome. Come learn with us, and we're going to talk about why you might want to do that right out the gate. Alrighty. So tonight we have a jam-packed agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about 100 devs. We're going to thank our wonderful sponsors, Microsoft Azure. Thank you so much for being here. We are going to review how to learn. Because if you're new, right, we're going to have a lot of new folks tonight. We're going to have this get shared across the internet. So if you're new, I want you to walk away with something really important. And that's learning how to learn. We're just going to take a few minutes at the beginning to do it. But I want to make sure that if you leave with nothing else tonight, you have the skills to learn whatever it is that you want to learn after our time together. I'm going to, as the kids say these days, shoot my shot on getting you to learn how to learn, because it's literally the most important thing you could ever do. Once you learn the secrets, it's easy. All right. After we go through learning how to learn, we're going to talk about like, what is the internet? This class is made for everyone. We've been working up to this class for a while. We've been building an app together over 3 or 4 classes. But tonight we're going to add authentication, but I'm going to do my best. If you're new and you're saying, I don't really understand what a full stack web app is, I don't understand what Node is, we're going to try our best to explain what's going on. And then tonight we're working through code. I want you to walk away tonight with a class that you can come back to that dissects all of the important pieces, right? A class that you can come back to and use the code as your jumping off point for whatever it is that you want to build, right? So after tonight, we're gonna work through some code. We're gonna introduce some new concepts, and you're gonna have code that you can use to start building whatever you want. Now, we're not going to promise that it's all going to make 100 cents. We're not going to promise that you're going to be a Node expert after this class, but you're going to have a jumping off point that makes sense. And then you can come back to the community, ask lots of questions. Our Discord is 3,000 plus people strong. You can come ask your questions. You can join us in our raid after this stream and ask your questions. All right. So tonight is about, if you ever wanted to build a full stack web application, if you've ever wanted to add authentication or logins to a full stack web application, we're going to make that make sense. There's a lot of stuff out there on the internet. It's not great. It don't make sense. It's not broken down so that anyone that's picking it up for the first time understands what they need to focus on, what's magic, what's not magic. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to start all the way back at the beginning with is like, what is the internet? How does it work? We're going to build up to this concept of building out a Crud API. Then we're adding Microsoft identity. We're adding the ability to log in on top. And at the end, you're going to have an understanding, right? You're going to have an understanding of how to build a full stack to-do list that's personalized. So you're not seeing all the to-dos, but only your to-dos, right, that you have entered onto your to-do list. So it's going to be the evolution of our applications. From this point forward, everything has changed. From this point forward, you're not just building silly apps, you're building apps that have the ability to have individualized users, serving up data to specific users, serving up data to only the users that are logged in, protecting routes from folks that are and are not logged in. Our apps get serious. This is the most exciting thing to me. For folks that are newer, my name is Leon. I've been teaching people to code for 10 years now. I'm distinguished faculty at General Assembly, and my day job is I work for a nonprofit called Resilient Coders. We take individuals from kind of no prior experience with code, and in 20 weeks we help them get jobs as software engineers. When the pandemic hit and folks were hurting, they were trying to figure out what their future was going to look like, what new job opportunities they could come across. We started 100 devs. We've already gotten folks jobs, and this is the continuation of that work. But this, to me, is where it gets exciting. Because after tonight, you have everything that you need to build whatever app you want. Like after tonight, you have the whole picture. Yes, we're going to spend some time making it more best practices. Yes, we're going to spend some time figuring out how we would do things in production versus how we would do things when we're just kind of messing around locally. But after tonight, you have all the building blocks. You can go out there and build the things that you want to build. That's exciting. This is my favorite point in time as an instructor, as somebody that helps folks learn the code. This is it. Because after tonight, I know that you can go out there and build the things that you've been dreaming of building for a really long time. Sam, hey, I appreciate that. Leon is a big reason why I don't have to dig holes for a living anymore. Eternally grateful. Hey, Sam, I appreciate the kind words. Let's go. That's what we're talking about tonight, folks. These skills are in demand. They're going to help you live the life that you want to live, to pull you out of having to dig holes. All right, I'm going to go back to little Leon here. I just get excited. Like I said, I get hype. I get into it because I know this is the difference maker. And to have Microsoft believe in our mission, right? To see the good work that we're doing and say, you know what? We want to support y'all. And they put up swag. They put up Azure credit. They believe in the things that we're doing. And they want to help you be successful. And so I'm super excited to get into this tonight. So let's get into it. Let's have a little bit of fun. We're going to get to some Raffles soon. We're going to get to digging into it. But like I said, I always want to take some time to answer some questions. But then we're going to talk about learning how to learn so that if you leave with nothing else, you feel good about that. So while we're here, any questions? Because remember, this is a class. We do this every Tuesday and Thursday, and then we have some bunch of other stuff going on. So I always like to stop, answer some questions. We had some hydrations come in. Let me get these hydrations in. Let me scroll down here a little bit. I got heated, folks. I got heated. I missed some things here. Danny with the 1,000 bits. Hey, thank you so much, and congrats with the new gig. That's wild. Congratulations. That's big ups. Really proud. It's good to see good things come to good people, you know? That's awesome. Congratulations on that. And thank you for the bits. Bill Gates in the house with 200 bits. Thank you so much. No the way. Hey, thank you for the 2 months. Gilly 103 with the hydration. Cheers to you. Saint with the prime. I appreciate you. Imran with the hydration as well. Cheers to you. Eric Coates. Hey, thank you for the gifted sub. How many more weeks does the boot camp last? So we are slated to be at the end of May, you having all the things that you need to really go about the hunt. And we call the hunt our job search process. So we got a few more weeks until we're at the point where I feel like you know enough to start the process. But we're going for a full 60 classes. So we still have a couple more months ahead of us, but I promise that by the end of May, you would have all the real skills that you need, and then the real work starts. The networking, the getting the recommendations, the filling out your hit list, finding the places that you're gonna go to. So all that is a huge process. And so we've been doing those things on Fridays as well. So on Fridays, we do the stuff I can't stream. On Fridays, we do kind of the showing you the real nitty gritty about the job search process. A lot of that I can't show on stream because I'm showing people's emails and Twitter handles and all that stuff. And so if you're interested in the job hunt and how to do that well and effectively, every Friday we have a class that's not on stream that you can join as well. But we'll get into some of this stuff. Can't wait to get into the hunt. Me too, Alyssa. I can't wait either. MacTay redeemed check on Simba. I got you. All right, let's see. There we go. A deal with the 6 months. Let's go. Let's do this. Hey, thank you so much. I'm terrified of the hunt. Don't be terrified. It's a lot of work. All right. It's a lot of work, but nothing to be scared of. Alrighty, let's keep pushing, folks. All right, so we talked a little bit about it, but I just want to reiterate, who is tonight for? Tonight is for individuals that want to have a better understanding of how to build full stack node applications. So we're going to talk about how to build a full stack web application. And it's really for folks that have never added logins or authentication to their applications. We're going to be spending a lot of time digesting a bunch of code. So I got all this code here for us to work through. We're going line by line, piece by piece. This is something that I hope that you can come back to, that if you want to build an application, this is your starting point. So after class, all the code will be shared. You'll have the video to come back to. You'll have the slides to come back to. So to me, this is, when I look online and I look for like applications from scratch, there's not too many of them, and some of them are older. And so I want to add this into the mix, right? This is an application that you can use. You tweak in a few things, you add some of your own environment variables, you add a few things to your config folder, and you're live. You're running. You have a full stack web application that has all of the accoutrements that you're going to need. All the pieces are there, and so you can use it. So tonight's not really about coding directly from scratch. It's about really understanding each of these pieces, asking lots of questions. Please ask tons of questions in chat as we're going through this stuff, and that's what we're going to get through. So tonight is for maybe you've built some apps in the past, but you need a refresher. Maybe you've never built a full stack application before, and that's okay. We'll get you a base understanding of how all the pieces come together. And then this is really for the folks that have been participation in the boot camp, that have gotten to the point where they're like, all right, we have all these skills. We want to add authentication on top of it. So that's the goal here. I get so hype about this too. Like this, like I keep telling you, like this is it. You get this and you're good. All right. Tonight, we have our wonderful sponsor, all right? Microsoft Azure is sponsoring this stream. They're throwing up a bunch of swag. They're throwing up $2,500 in Azure credit. And so we have some rules that we're going to agree to. They're the same as our community rules, but if you want to check out the code of conduct for tonight, you can do ! GitHub COC. It's an actual kind of document that's on GitHub here, and it's the same thing as our community rules. Be excellent to one another, no funny business, and we're gonna have a really good night. Alrighty, so I'm gonna chill the music here. Time to get a little serious here. Like I said, this is going to get shared around a lot. It's going to reach folks that aren't normally part of our community. And so I want to take a second to shoot my shot here and convince you on a career in tech. Okay, that's my goal. Jared, hey, thank you for the 4 months. I want to convince you on a career in tech. Right now, if you look up on the kind of Glassdoor, they publish salaries. The average starting salary for a software engineer is $92,000. And I've actually just seen these numbers, we'll talk about that in a second, like match reality, right? So this isn't some pie in the sky. This isn't some made up thing. These are like real numbers that I'm actually seeing on the ground, right? Rams, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. For folks that are watching this elsewhere, things are gonna be a little weird. Because on Twitch here, the more you hang out, the more channel points you get. And you can use these channel points to redeem a lot of fun stuff. So that's why people are making me drink. That's why we get to see Simba every once in a while. And so join us, leonnoel.com/Twitch. We're live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. We'd love to have you. Thank you for the hydration. All right. So software engineering is a career that pays well. But above all, right? Above all, it's the happiest career. Whenever you look at the ratings for the happiest career, for like the past 5 or 10 years in a row, software engineering or some other name you want to call it has always been on that list. And so we're talking about a career that pays well, is a happy career. You don't need a degree, and you can learn it for free. What? Pays well, happy, no degree, can learn for free. There is a special window that's open right now. I have no idea how long this window will be open, but right now, if you work hard, you get help when you need it, you can learn a set of skills that unlock a very different future for yourself. A future where you're making great money, a future where you're happy, and a future where you can support yourself, your loved ones, and those around you in your community. And so every day, I fight as hard as I can to get as many people through this window as possible. I have a wonderful team at Resilient Coders that fights shoulder to shoulder with me to get as many people through this window as possible. Nights and weekends, I'm here with y'all at 100 Devs, trying to get you through this window as quickly as possible. I have no idea how long it'll be open. I just know right now it is. You can learn these skills. You can learn them for 100% free. Everything we do on this channel is free. I will never charge you for anything. I will never lock any of my content behind a paywall. There will never be one thing that educates you that I will put behind some money. It is 100% free. All of the tutorials I recommend are free. I never recommend anything that actually costs you money. So, right now there's this window open. Don't know how long. I want as many of you through it as possible, and I'm going to work as hard as I can to get you through it. Okay? Now, it's not an easy task. I'm not telling you just to go learn the code and like thinking that it's magic and to pick it up. It is a slog. It is a long, tiresome journey. You will have moments where you want to give up, as everyone that has partaked on this journey will go through. However, if you can make it through this trough of sorrow, the other side is beautiful. Now, most folks come to learning to code and they start off here. They've went out and they bought all of these wonderful tutorials. They've invested a bunch of money, and they're sitting on this lovely hill right here. Now we like to call this tutorial hill, where your desire has peaked. You really want to do this. You've gathered all your resources, and then you start. And as soon as you start, you realize that it is an accelerated roller coaster into some of the deepest and darkest, most trying things you will ever do. Your mental fortitude will be tested. Your belief in yourself will be tested. The very fiber of your being will be rattled. So when I say like go out and learn to code and get a great career, I don't ever want to lead anyone astray, because it is months of hard work. And even when you think that you're starting to get to the end, you crash even further. But I do know you can make it through. And I think that's a bold claim. I believe anyone that puts their mind to it can learn to code and grit a phenomenal career. And I say this because I've helped thousands of people learn how to code. And with my team at Resilient Coders, we've helped hundreds of folks get jobs as software engineers. And I've seen folks from all walks of life. Now, do some people absolutely have to work way harder to get the same results? Yes. But I have had folks that have been incarcerated for a number of years, literally haven't touched a computer. I've had folks that said to themselves, you know what, I suck at math, I can never learn this. And I've had folks that had the privilege of maybe some computer science classes before they were out of high school. All right. All walks. I've seen them be successful, and I honestly believe that you can be successful too. Now, there are some strategies that I've seen folks that are successful. There's some things that they have that I see time and time again. Folks that are successful learning to code do these 3 things really well. So, folks that are learning to code know how to manage their frustration. There was an interesting study that came out that was looking at when folks lose their ability to learn new things. And it happens way later. But what they realize is that we think that children are really good at learning, which they are. But what they realize is that the reason why it's harder for them to learn new things is because they get frustrated way quicker, right? And so managing your frustration is one of the key things that you have to learn if you're going to embark on this coding journey. Now, the cool thing is we have an amazing Discord community. You can do ! Discord. You can join our community. And when you get stuck, come ask questions. The folks that succeed in learning how to code are the folks that are very vocal. When they get stuck, they ask. There is no wrong questions. There is nobody that's going to judge you based on the questions that you asked on our Discord. It is a space to come. We all know the journey that you're going on. We understand that you are going to have questions that could be very simple, and you can have questions that could be very, very complex. Come, ask, and people will help. That's one of the best ways you can manage your frustration is by getting help when you actually need it. Cool. Now, the other big thing is consistency. And one of the things people don't realize is that just chunking your learning on a weekend is not enough. So the folks that are successful are consistently learning. It's a daily practice. If you try to bunch up your time on, say, just a Saturday afternoon, the problem that happens is that eventually you're going to have to skip a Saturday. Eventually, that skipping of one Saturday turns into 2, and it's a small snowball down to not actually completing your goals and learning how to code. There's also some really strong science about what we call spaced repetition. This daily practice can help you get there. So, everyone has a path to learn the code. That journey may be shorter or longer. And consistency is the thing that's going to get you there in the end. And then the last thing here that's on this list that I've seen has been a big help is taking care of yourself. You have to make sure you're taking care of yourself. You're taking breaks. You're letting your eyes relax off into the distance. You're letting your hands relax. You're letting your brain digest the hard things that you've done. When you're learning to code, it's not digging holes anymore. You don't feel that muscle at the end of the day, but your brain gets obliterated as you're going through this process. And you have to learn to take care of yourself. On this channel, we take a break at the top of every hour so that we can let our minds relax and digest the things that we've learned, but also realize that we're in this for the long haul, right? We're in this for the rest of our career. And for some of us, it might take us a few months to get here. It might take us a year to get here. It might take us a little bit more to get here. But as long as we're taking care of ourselves along that process, we're going to get there. All right. Learn the hard way. Take care of your wrist. Exactly. I learned that the hard way too. I have to use a rollerball mouse. I use a special split keyboard because I wrecked my wrist, and that pain hasn't ever gone away. It just has varying levels of me feeling not great. Does eating cookies count as taking care of myself? Hey, if a cookie is what you need, I'm a big boy. Cookies have helped me take care of myself for many years. We in this for life. Let's go. But most importantly, don't let your dreams be dreams. Yes, this roller coaster ride, this trough of sorrow can beat you down in ways that you've never thought. It can really break you down. You start to question a lot of things. And the only thing I can tell you is don't let your dreams be dreams, and ask for help when you need it. That's the biggest thing. That's where folks mess up. They don't ask for help early and often, and then eventually the frustrations mount. It starts to impact their consistency, and they start to not want to do the things that are going to help them get through it in the end. So please, if you want to learn to code, if you're watching this, don't let your dreams be dreams. Find tools and systems to manage your frustration. Be consistent in your learning and take care of yourself. It's a long, hard journey, but you can get there. All right. Now, here are two really important topics that I want everyone to know before leaving us, right? So if you just hang around for this part and you leave, that's okay. I want you to know this. But before I get into these, I got to get my posture check in. Thank you, Raw Yolks. Let me get my posture check in here. And I got a hydration. Oh, look at Raw Yolks taking care of me. I'm telling you to take care of yourself. Look at them go. Got a posture check in. Got my hydration in. Doing good. All right. Let's talk about these two very important topics before we get into our meat and potatoes tonight. First topic is called active recall. So, this video right here by Ali Abdaal, this video changed my life. This video talks you through a learning strategy that has been proven time and time again to be effective. Okay. Right. Time and time to be effective. Right. Now, this right here is the one technique that you need above and beyond. Somebody put something really important in chat. Before I get out, I want to address this real quick. Somebody said, don't work 8 hours a day for someone else's company, then go home and not work on your own goals. You're not tired, you're uninspired. Absolutely not. That's why I'm saying for somebody, this process can be shorter or it can be very long, right? For some folks, you might only have 30 minutes a day. In those 30 minutes a day, you could be getting done the things that are going to help you progress on this journey. And so everyone comes to this journey in a very different place, with kids and folks that they take care of, with other stressors or things that might impede their ability to do this process fast. I've seen folks that have put in 15 to 30 minutes a day. It took them over a year, but they still got to the goal in the end. So it's not about how much time, it's about the time that you can commit to improving your life. And so I don't want to make it seem that like folks don't come to this journey with different experiences. That's totally a valid concern. But I've seen folks that made a decision that said, you know what, even with everything I do have, I want to commit this amount of time. And so these two strategies, right? These two strategies are going to help you be effective with the time that you do have. Okay. So this first one is active recall. Ali Abdaal has an amazing video on it. And it's a very simple concept. After you learn something, talk out loud about the things that you just learned. Recall the things out loud that you just learned. So When I am done learning something, I talk to Simba. Somebody redeemed a Simba cam. Sorry, Sour Dev. Simba's on a mission now. I talk to Simba, but Simba vastly prefers my wife, and so often Simba's not in my office with me. Most of the time, Simba's out on the on our couch hanging out with my wife. And so most of the time, I talk to Bob. What up, Bob? How you doing? Can I get some Bob emotes in chat for me, please? We haven't seen Bob in a while, too. We've seen Bob during celebrations. All right. Who's the guy with the menu stuff? That's Bob. Bob's been with me for a very long time. And this is the person I talk through every single thing that I learn. Right? So whenever I learn something new, I come back to Bob. And Bob just listens. Right? Some folks have a rubber duck. When I travel, I take my rubber duck with me, or now I have a 3D printed Bulbasaur that I take with me. If I know I'm going to be writing code somewhere, or I'm going to be learning, I bring someone to talk to. I really do. This is no cap. This is all truth. Like, I bring something I'm going to talk to because I know that actively recalling, all right, will enable me to do a fourth of the work. So the study that was done was that they gave somebody a chapter of, I believe it was a biology textbook to read. And then they tested them a week later on that chapter. The individuals that read the chapter once and then actively recalled did better than the folks that read the chapter 4 times. What? Hold on. So I can do a quarter of the work and get better results. And this isn't the first thing inside of every textbook I've ever had. This isn't the first thing. I walk into school day one, they don't just yell at me active recall. It's wildly unfair that I didn't learn this until my 20s. Active recall will change your life. Will change your life. And so please, if you're going to take away one thing from today, whatever we learn, you're going to see a lot of code today. We're not coding it from scratch. We're working through all these pieces. And I'm going to be talking you through all these pieces. That's going to be a lot for it to sink in and to remain. When we take a break, actively recall. When we do a raffle, actively recall. And then after we're done, after our raid, right, let's actively recall. You will be amazed at how much more information you retain with just this one strategy. I agree, Nicole. It's wild how they don't teach this in school at all. I was just used to cramming a day or two before a big exam. Me too. In high school, I took the subway. It took me a long time to get to school. And I would just be cramming right before class to get all my stuff done. I have a really good memory. And so I did really well in school. But I would just forget stuff after, right? I have a really good short-term memory. So I'd ace the test. But you ask me a couple weeks later, no idea. All right. Now, there's one other thing here that we're going to talk about that's related to this. So you put in all this cognitive effort to learn these things, all right? You're going to give me a couple hours tonight to learn something new, to really push yourself. But the real thing is you're going to forget it. You just will. This is a study of one where a person started memorizing 3-digit letter combinations. And what they did is they decided to see how quickly they would forget the things that they had just memorized, those 3-digit letter combinations. And they saw that after about 20 minutes, there's about a 40% chance they just didn't remember it anymore. And by the end of the 30 days, there's an 80% chance the thing that they had just learned, something so simple, they had completely forgotten. Now, this was a study of one. There have been other attempts to replicate it, right? But the idea here is that we have this forgetting curve. No matter who you are, it might be a little bit shallower, it might be a little bit steeper, but you have a forgetting curve. So you put in this effort to learn stuff, and then you're slowly going to forget it. But there is a solution. You can reset your forgetting curve. You can introduce something called spaced repetition. With spaced repetition, you are surfacing the things that you learned at the appropriate interval so that you remember stuff for the long term. Ali Abdallah has another amazing video on this. And what you'll notice is if you do this spaced repetition, like where you're repeating stuff, you're reviewing content over a algorithmically controlled interval, your forgetting curve gets flatter and flatter. So here is it originally. By like the end of 3 days, you forgot a lot. But if you keep reviewing the material, there exists a point where your forgetting curve flattens and you just don't forget it anymore, right? You just don't forget it anymore. And so there's a wonderful video on how to do this, but we use a tool called Anki. Anki is a completely free tool. It is like a flashcard app. And that flashcard app has an algorithm behind it. You put the things you learn into it, and then it surfaces those things when you need to see them. And so what it does is over time, you see the things you need to see, and as you start to really learn them, the interval in which you see those things becomes longer and longer. I have some cards that it says like, I'll see you in 5 years. Like I just won't see that card ever for a very long time because I know it and I won't forget it, right? So completely free. If you take the things that we learned tonight and you actively recall them, you can do a quarter of the work and retain more. And then if you commit a little bit of time each day to actively recalling and spaced repetition, like this Anki thing I'm talking about, you just won't forget things. And so since software engineering is a career for the rest of your life, where your knowledge compounds, it's really important that you do these two things. And so I see a lot of folks that start their journey, but because they don't know these two techniques, well, they're not consistent, meaning they're not actively recalling when they're done their material, and then they're not doing spaced repetition throughout the week. And so as things get harder and harder, they're just not prepared. So please, if you are here, I'm gonna make my last passionate plea here. If you are here and you have any aspirations of learning something, if you have any aspirations of learning to code, please, when you're done learning something new, actively recall, talk out loud all the things that you just learned, and use a spaced repetition tool like Anki. Just a few minutes a day to review things so you don't forget the things that you learn. And as you get to more and more complex topics, it becomes easier and easier to work with those things. Please. You can do !learn here in chat or !study tips, and it'll link you to both of these. All right, had some hydrations in here. Fox, thank you for the hydration. Will, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to both of you. All right, now, I showed you that number that was on Glassdoor, and the bootcamp I run during the day, here are our numbers from December. 94% of our graduates already have a job, and the starting salary has been $92,000. All the students that were in our bootcamp didn't have any serious development experience beforehand. Most of them had never coded before, and most of them did not have a degree. My team worked really hard, and they busted their ass over 20 weeks, like really worked really hard to learn the things that they learned. Talking like 10-hour days, right? To get there in 20 weeks, and 94% of them already have a job with a starting salary of $92,000. There's no bullshit to these numbers. There's no hire backs or weird stuff. These are like our real numbers, right? Folks that are part of the 100 devs community, we already have 7 folks that have full-time jobs. So folks that joined us for a completely free online bootcamp that we run here on Twitch, 7 of them already have jobs, and dozens of them already have paid clients, right? Somebody said, are you concerned about the average starting salary dropping? Well, it dropped 6K, which I think during a pandemic is okay. in a global pandemic, I think we're okay to drop 6K. But what we're seeing now is it's starting to rise again, right? It's starting to go back up. Things are recovering. I have seen more job opportunity in the past few months than I've seen in my 10 years of doing this, right? And so it's picking up, which is wild. And so I want you to take advantage of this. Cool. If you've gotten a paid client or a job, can you just put like a micro Leon in chat real quick? Just if you've gotten if you've gotten paid, a job opportunity, anything like that, just put a micro Leon in chat for me. Just want to see it. Just want to see it. Go ahead for me, please. Please let folks see it. Look at this, folks. Look. Can't make this up. Like, here it is. Look at chat. Folks that committed themselves to learning this material are getting jobs. They're getting paid. And so it is my deepest desire that if right now you are trying to learn this stuff, if for somehow you've come across this video, I really want you to know that it's not too late. You can go to leonnoel.com/100devs. You can do !100devs here in chat. It'll give you everything that you need to know to join us. We got almost 400 people in here. If you've ever been thinking about it, you've been like, you know what, I've been thinking about this code thing. Look at these people that got jobs. Look at these people that are already getting paid through a free boot camp. Please join us. We have a community of 3,000 plus people in Discord. We want to see you be successful. It's not too late. Cool. Now, we work really hard. These results speak for themselves. All these folks in chat that got jobs, that are getting paid already. It's wonderful to see folks supporting our mission. And so Microsoft Azure, thank you so much for supporting this stream tonight, to gifting thousands of dollars in Azure credit, gifting swag. I really, really, really do appreciate you recognizing the hard work of everyone in this community and wanting to be a part of it, and to helping our development journey go easier. So I want to say a quick, really big thank you to Microsoft Azure for sponsoring this class. It really, really means a lot. It does. To see folks trying to learn, to trying to improve themselves, their community, and saying, you know what, I want to support that community. That's above and beyond. And so I appreciate you for being here, and for you supporting us, and for supporting folks that are just beginning their engineering journey and making it easier for them. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right. Tonight, folks, we have a problem. We have a real problem. The apps that we've been building do not have any authentication. Authentication just means the ability to figure out who the person using the app is, so that maybe we can get them access to certain part of our applications we don't want everyone to have access to maybe only serve them up their information and their data. And so far, our applications have just been open. We've been building, but there hasn't been a way for us to have a login. So we're going to solve that problem tonight. All right. We're going to solve that problem tonight. But as we're solving that problem, there's another problem. We're talking about adding authentication. We're talking about adding the ability to log in. And everyone's getting got these days. Like everyone's getting got. How many companies have gotten got in like the past month? Their user data has been leaked. Their accounts have been put out on the dark web. Like if you've been paying attention to tech news, there's like a good like 10 or 20 companies, like it's a lot, have gotten got recently. And so I am not a cybersecurity expert. I'm a person that builds some apps. I don't know how to keep user data super secure. I don't know any of those things, right? And so I, recognizing that I am not a cybersecurity expert, am going to rely on people that have thought through this, that weren't just using it, that were born in it, right? I'm gonna rely on them. And so we have two problems. One, we want to add logins and authentication to our applications, but we also recognize that we're not cybersecurity experts. So whenever you see this thing right here, we like to have a little fun on this channel. This is your 10-second warning that things about to pop off, right? There will be some lights. There might be some little bit more louder music. And so whenever you see that, your 10-second warning. So we got a problem. We've been building these apps for a couple classes now. We want to add authentication so we can have some like more richness to our applications, but we're not cybersecurity experts. We would probably get got. We don't want to get got. So this is where Microsoft Identity comes into play, folks. This is where it comes in. A, don't get got. Use Microsoft Identity's platform. Let's go. All right. I'm feeling it right now. Hit the drop. Let's go. We ain't gonna get got. Microsoft's gonna help us. They're gonna help us with our authentication. They're gonna help us with our logins. We ain't gonna get got. Let's go. It's gonna be one of those nights, folks. Let's go. All right. So we've been building up to this for a few classes. We have a wonderful to-do list application that enables us to add to-dos, but I want to have people log in before they can add to-dos. I don't want anyone to be able to add to-dos. And I want people that are logged in to only see their to-dos, right? And so Microsoft Identity is going to help us do this, and they have some really cool products. And so like, I get really hype over this, like really hype, because to me, it's magic. And it's magic that enables me to do really cool stuff. And so Microsoft Identity is a huge platform from Microsoft. And it's all about helping you build applications so that your users, your customers, whatever, can sign in, do the things that they need to do, maybe even use Microsoft products. And they have a suite of tools that make this really, really easy. And so when you go to like their website, you can see that they cover everything. Whatever you want to do, they got you. You want to have a single page application. You want to have a web app like that we're building. You want to protect your API. If you don't know what API is, we're going to get to that later. And so the platform is really, really rich. And there's a lot you can do with it. But there's like two really big things that I get excited about when I think about adding logins and authentications to our applications. And it's this stuff here. If you're part of this stream, you know I like to put the big words on stream and then break them down, right? I like to put the big things on stream and break it down. All the stuff we're talking about is free out the box. You create an account and it's free to set all this stuff up, use the basics. It's completely free. Now, the really neat thing is they have worked with some really like industry standard, like battle tested, off the shelf open source stuff. So we're building on top of OAuth and OpenID Connect. Don't worry about what that is for right now, but it's like real solid stuff that they're building and that you can use. But the cool thing is, once you learn the stuff we're gonna learn tonight. Oh, hey Simba. Simba like ran and came underneath me. Once you learn the things we're gonna learn tonight, you can start to build some really cool stuff. So part of the Microsoft Identity Platform are two things that like are just the dopest. Like, and this is not cap. Like, it's just like, it's just so cool that this exists and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to code it. I don't have to think about it. I can use it and it just works. And so the first thing is Azure AD or Active Directory. So we're going to build apps where we only want folks that are a part of our like entity, like folks that are part of like 100 devs, that are part of just like our work or just our school. And so you can build apps where folks that are just part of like your network can log in. But with the same stuff we're going to use tonight, you can also build apps where folks can log in with their Microsoft social accounts. So they can use their Outlooks, they can use their Skypes, they can use the Xbox Live. Like you can use anything that you want to log in. And so that's really cool. So the apps that we're going to start building tonight, folks can use logins that they already have to just quickly get in and start using our applications. And then the last one, which as I keep reading more and more, like it just gets me really excited that eventually we're going to be able to build apps with this. And it's called Azure Adb2c, right? And what it is a full platform, right? I'm going to go to their website here. It is a full platform for managing your like consumer data, right? Your consumer data. And so think about all the folks that are getting got right now. If they had been using Azure Active Directory B2C, they wouldn't have got, right? What Azure Active Directory B2C does is it manages all of your like consumer identity, right? It manages all of the authentication for your users. And so as you scale, as you get bigger, you don't have to worry about this stuff. It is magic. If all the folks that had had been using this, they would have been solid and not have to worry about it. Now, the really neat thing is I'm not a cybersecurity expert, but they had 3,500 security experts that went through it. And they have all of these certifications that tell me and my non-cybersecurity brain that I'm not going to get got, right? So the cool thing is what we're using tonight is a set of strategies that work with all three of these things. So if you want to work straight with Azure Active Directory and you just want to like secure your like internal, like just your team, your work, your school, you can use the stuff that we're going to use tonight. If you want folks to log in with like their Xbox accounts, which is wild, you can use the code we write tonight. And if you want to say, you know what, I'm going to join a company soon, right? You all are going to join companies soon if you're here to learn code and get a job. When you get to that company, what are they doing with their users' data? How are they securing it? Are they about to get got? Can you walk in there day one and be like, don't know. Seems like we might get got. I have a full project that shows you not how to get got. All right. And so I really do get like, I don't like, I want to be 100% clear. They did not tell me to say any of this. They didn't tell me to talk about these things. They sponsored it, and I think it's really important. It's like really cool, right? That we can start building apps that have login, And we can start building these apps so that as our projects grow, we don't have to worry about our user data like evaporating, getting leaked, or anything like that. Right? And so I think one of the big stressors for folks that are like early on building web applications, especially when they push it to production, they want it to be real. And that's our goal. We want to build real apps. They really worry about, am I doing things right in terms of security? And am I doing things right in terms of like protecting my users? And so if out the gate, we're using things like Active Directory B2C, we don't have to worry about any of this stuff. And so I think that lifts like an enormous weight off of our shoulders and enables us to build some really cool things going forward. And so when Microsoft said they wanted to partner, I knew this was the class to do it because it's going to enable us to build real applications. Everything we do here at 100 Devs is to give you practical skills to get a job. And these are just one of the things on your checklist that makes the apps that you're about to put out into the world that are going to get you hired be more legit. And of course, not get got. Cool. Cool. Now, the beautiful thing is this Azure, well, I had the warning. I had the warning because I like in my head, I talked about it and like confetti started flying because that's how hype I got about it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get the warning anyway. Let's get a little bit of party going here. Thank you, Microsoft Azure. Thank you. The team on Microsoft Identity has been overwhelmingly helpful. We're actually going to raid them after this stream. And so all of the questions you have about Azure AD, Azure Adb2c, anything about Microsoft Identity, we can go and ask them. So any of your cybersecurity questions, any of like the real nitty gritty about how this works, we're going to go to them after and they're going to answer all of your questions. They're going to be swamped. Well, we're going to be in there helping them too. So I'm really excited for it. And so let's get a little thank you party. Thank you, Microsoft. Thank you, Microsoft Azure, for helping us not get got. Let's go. Feeling it tonight, folks. You know why I'm feeling it tonight? Because we got some raffles. We got a raffle. All right. So, the way the raffle's going to work. The way this is going to work is we have a couple different types of raffles. We have swag raffles and we have Azure credit raffles. So we're going to be mixing them all in here tonight. And so we're going to get started off with some raffles and then we're going to take a break. Okay. So the first raffle, we're going to raffle off swag. And so the way we do swag is that we have two different ways of doing swag. There is Microsoft swag that is open to folks in the US. And then we have some Learn with Leon swag that I got right here that's open to anyone in the world. So anyone in the world, it'll be open to, and you can win a lovely mask. You will win a lovely sticker. A bunch of these are in the mail right now, going around the globe. So we're going to do a raffle. The way we're going to do the raffles is the first one is going to be the Microsoft raffle open for folks in the US. And then we'll close that one and we'll do a raffle for folks in anywhere else in the world. So please don't enter the anyone in the world one if you're in the US. Because I won't send it to you. I just won't send it to you because I want to make sure everyone has a fair shot at winning some swag. Cool? Does that make sense? All right, so let's do our first raffle here. Let's put some raffle music on. All right. That's not raffle music. There we go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start a raffle here. Alrighty, so you can do !Raffle and you will enter this raffle. So the raffle is live now. This is for some Microsoft swag. So word on the street is they got some fabulous water bottles and some Yetis that they're giving away. So this is for the folks in the US Microsoft raffle. Go ahead and do !Raffle here in chat. And we'll leave this open for another, let's say 30 seconds here. And then we're gonna do our anywhere in the world raffle, and then we're gonna take a break. Yeti's like one of those like the cooler, like not like cooler as in cool, like as in cold, like keeps your stuff cold or hot. Yeah. Alrighty, closing this raffle right now. We're gonna pick a winner. Bugaboo. All right, Bugaboo with the win. All right, so Bugaboo, what I need you to do is on Discord, send me a mod mail, and we'll get this coming your way. I'm gonna need your email to make this happen. Cool. Congrats, Bugaboo. Let's get another one going here. So we're gonna complete this one, and we're gonna start anywhere in the world that's not the US, learn with Leon. Starting the raffle. Remember, if you're in the US, I'm just not going to send it to you. So make sure you're outside here. I'm going to do !Raffle. I'm going to leave this open for another 30 seconds or so. All right. Gonna go ahead and close it. We're gonna be quick with these ones. We're gonna be quick. All right, I'm gonna close it. Gonna pick a winner. Arabog. Hey, congrats, Arabog. Dope. All right. Now we're gonna do one more, and this is for $100 in free Azure credit. Which goes a long way as you start building out serious and more serious apps. So let's go ahead. I'm going to run this one for the Azure credit. It is open. This is open for anyone. !Raffle, please. Anyone. Everyone that wins the Azure credit, I will. You'll get that credit tonight, so you'll be able to start using it right away. In case your app goes viral. Another 15 seconds or so, and then we're going to take our lovely break. All right, closing this one. Gonna go ahead and pick a winner here. Ooh, Wesley 42. You've been popping off here recently too. You won. Welcome. Congrats. Alrighty. So we're gonna take a break, and while we're taking a break, we are gonna have another Azure credit raffle going. So I'm just gonna leave this raffle running for the break time. So it'll be open. I'm gonna put 5 minutes on our clock here. If you're new around these parts, we like to take a break, stay healthy. We're in this for the long haul. So go ahead, we put 5 minutes on the clock here. Please get up, hydrate, take a break, do what you gotta do, and we'll be here. Alyssa did check on Simba. Uh-oh. Simba's gone. Well, he's not gone, he's just sitting in front of the mat. It's a Bob Cam now. Welcome to Bob Cam. We need a camera adjustment. I'll let you know if they get back up on the pad. I'll let you know. I'll give you a freebie. Bob Cam, oh my. Please, folks, take a break. We got lots more fun to get through, lots more raffles, a lot more things to give away here. So please take a break though. Get up, hydrate, do the things you got to do, and then come back in 4 minutes. I am going to need a piece of paper. Don't know where I put my piece of paper. All right, folks, please take a break. So if you win anything tonight, send me a mod mail so I can get back to you. And in that mod mail, tell me what you won, and send me your email. So if you win anything on mod mail, give me your email and what you won. Knox. Izzy A, thank you. I appreciate that. Whatever email you want to share, 42. Never won anything in your life? No. Half-Frozen Devs, hey, thank you. Are the swag packs the same as last time? No, I think this time word on the street is that they're water bottles and like the Yeti is mixed in. So there's like a chance at either of them. All right, folks, 2 minutes, 20 seconds left. Please take a break. Please hydrate. Please do the things you got to do. We'll be here when you get back. Oh, Chris, I missed your sub. Hey, thank you for the 4 months. I appreciate that. And Jeff, thank you for the hydration. And cheers to you. Thank you for so, Chris. Did you get your second shot yet? No, that's tomorrow. Tomorrow I get my second one. Yobi, hey, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. All right, we got a minute left, folks, and we're going to keep it going. Macta, you got your second? That's dope. Chris, you got your first? That's awesome. Alrighty, folks, about a minute left. It's just regular juice. Yeah. Just regular juice. 30 seconds, folks, and come on back. I spend most of the time pre-raid stream chatting about people about burnout. Yeah, it's real. One of the hardest things to work through, especially as a new dev. Alrighty, folks, 4 seconds left. Alrighty, welcome back. Let's go ahead and run this raffle. So I'm going to go ahead and close the entries, and we are going to get it going here. So let me go ahead and close these entries. I'm going to go ahead and pick a winner here. Sponge Dude. Congrats, Sponge Dude. Congrats. Alrighty, congrats. Alrighty. Now we have one thing before we move on. So these ones were the easy freebies here. For all the other raffles going forward, before I send you the code or we send out the swag, we're gonna check for one thing, and that is to make sure you followed the 425 show. So the folks that are sponsoring this stream at Microsoft, they have their own Twitch channel where they stream all this content related around Microsoft identity. So if you want to enter in any of the raffles going forward, make sure that you have given them a follow. Now, there's two ways to give them a follow. You can do !425. Make sure you use our link so that you follow them through our link. So if you do !425, that'll get you the link to use to go and follow them. Or we're going to raid them after class. So you can either follow them now or raid with us after class and give them a follow then. As long as I see that the follow happened tonight, you're good. So if you've already given them a follow, awesome. If you're going to join the raid with us and get all those sweet, delicious channel points, go ahead and we can do it that way. The other really cool thing is they're also doing raffles. So they have some more Azure credit and some fun stuff. And so when we go over there, they're gonna do a raffle as well. So lots of cool stuff to give away. And so make sure you either follow them, !425, give them a follow that way, or when we do our raid, you give them a follow then. Alrighty, let's keep it moving. I'm gonna chill the music here. Now, we've learned about Microsoft Identity. We've learned about all the platforms. Oh, I know. Oh, sorry. So I'm gonna let Simba out real quick. Be right back. I know. Alrighty. Simba Cam is now Bob Cam. So if you want Bob Cam, you got it. But Simba Cam is now Bob Cam. All right. So before we dive into this, before we start building our application that has auth and seeing all that cool stuff, let's go ahead and talk about how the internet works. And so if you are brand new and haven't been around for these parts for a while, or maybe you're watching this for the first time and you're like, I want to build a full stack web application, let's talk about what that actually means. So chat, what's the internet? What's the internet, chat? Cat tubes. A wire. I love a wire. That's what we've always started with. Underwater tubes, 1.21 gigawatts. A big truck. Literal nets. A series of tubes. Devices connected by wires. Ooh, I like that. Let's start with this devices connected by wires idea. So, on the internet, we have two kinds of devices. We have client-side devices, and we have server-side devices. Right? Client-side devices are devices that we use to consume the internet. So it can be your mobile phone, it could be your desktop, it could be your laptop. It's whatever you use to consume the internet. Now, servers are computers out there on the internet as well, but servers, chat, what do servers do? What do servers do? Yeah, they listen and serve, right? So they serve. And so often we'll go to a website. On our client-side device, we have a program called a browser. And that browser is going to make a request to a server. That server will hear the request, figure out how it's going to respond, and then respond. Right? That's what we're doing here. We are going to build an application that has not only the code that will eventually run on the client side, but also the code that's running here on our server. Because when you go to a website, what you are asking for are a bunch of files and data. So when we type in one of our favorite websites like neopets.com, we make a request to a server. That server hears our request and it responds with HTML, CSS, JavaScript. All those things go across those wires and to our client-side device. Our browser is really good at reading those files. It can read the HTML, it can read the CSS, it can read the JavaScripts, it can read all those files and show our users the website that they are building. Okay. Now, this code right here is what we've been spending the last few classes talking about. The code that's running on our server that hears the request, figures out what to do to respond. Chat, what do we call that code that we write that's sitting there listening for the request, figuring out what to do, and responding? Yeah, we're going to call that our API. It's just some code that's listening for our requests, knows what to do, and then responds. And the beautiful thing is we get full control over that. We get to build out what the server listens for and how it responds. Now, there are some types of requests that our clients can make that our server is set up to handle, right? So since we are sending information back and forth across the internet, we are actually using a protocol called HTTP, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This is the protocol for sending our data back and forth. And the really cool thing is we make requests using this protocol all the time. Dragonoid, thank you for the hydration. OnAd1, thank you for the 5 months. That's wild. All right. We make requests all the time. Sometimes we are just entering in a URL and we hit enter on that URL. We have made a request. Sometimes we are filling out a form. As soon as we hit submit on that form, we have made a request, right? So we are used to making these requests. We might not know that we were making them, but that's what we were doing. All these subs, wow. OnAd1, thank you for the 5 months. For the gym, hey, thank you for the prime. Grizzly Guru with the 7 months. Let's go. Thank you so much. Appreciate the hype train. So we make these requests all the time, gets, posts, and then we also learned in the last few classes puts and deletes, right? So the way the internet actually works is our client-side devices, like we're sitting in front of our computer or our cell phone, we're making requests from those devices to a server. That server is set up to hear those requests and generate responses. Now, the really cool thing is we now can also check to see if they're logged in, only show data if they are logged in based on the code that we're going to add tonight. All right. So we're going to add an extra layer to this, make our APIs a little bit more robust, have them have the ability to only serve up data if a user is logged in, only serve up certain kinds of data, right? And so that's what our authentication is going to bring to the mix here. We're going to still be able to have a website that our application that's making requests, but now we can start to not only serve up those requests, but also figure out, all right, do we want to serve up requests because are they logged in or not? Is there special data we want to give them because they are logged in? Can we get them just their data, right? And so that's the fun that we're going to get into this evening. These APIs that we've been talking about, we call them Crud APIs because we're creating stuff, we're reading stuff, we're updating stuff, or we are deleting stuff, right? The idea being that for pretty much every web application that you can think of, you're probably just doing these kind of commands. Like 90+% is really just these 4 things. And so I get really excited when I teach this because if you learn these 4 things, you're set. You can build most of the apps that you want to build. Of course, there's other things you can put on top of it, but the meat and potatoes, the bulk of what you're doing is just these 4 things. Rudy said, are we building this from scratch on Sunday? Absolutely. So on Sunday is our office hours. We're going to spend a lot of time working through our code together tonight. And then we always like to do like a catch-up class where we do it from zero. So tonight we're going to work through all of our code. We're going to see the authentication working, talk through what it's actually doing. And then if you want to come back on Sunday, we're going to build it from scratch as well. Alrighty. The set of rules that allow our programs to talk to each other, right? This idea of the server and the client talking to each other, that's our API that we've talked about so far. All right. There are some technologies that we're going to be using tonight. And so I want to make sure that we talk through those technologies just so as we're working through the code, we're all on the same page. Like I said, if you're new, we got a full 37 classes before this one that works up to this point, but we're going to give you the highlights so that as we're working through our code together, you know what we're talking about. So tonight we're going to build out our Crud APIs, right? These APIs that make, get, change, and remove stuff, but we're going to use a framework called Express. And Express is a framework that makes it really, really easy to make these CRUD APIs, to make applications that can create stuff, read stuff, update, and delete stuff. The other really cool thing about Express is that there is a lot of middleware, stuff that handles the request and the response, the stuff that sits in between. There's a lot of stuff, right, that we can use with Express that makes our lives easier. And we're going to be able to easily add authentication to our applications because we're using Express. Hey, thank you for the anonymous gifted sub to Cross. Appreciate that. All right. So we're using Express as a framework to build out our API. Express is really good at listening to those gets, those puts, those deletes, right? Those requests that are coming from the client, and then enabling us to easily build out how we're going to respond. We're also using MongoDB tonight as our database where we're going to store data, or we're going to store all of our to-dos, or we're going to store our user information, just some of it, and we're going to see why that might actually be a bad idea. But the reason why we use MongoDB to start is why, chat? Why do we use MongoDB to start? Easy, that's true. MongoDB is just like objects. If you've been learning how to code and you know how to use objects, key value pairs in JavaScript, you can use MongoDB. And so tonight, I'm going to show you how easy it is to use MongoDB to store your data and to keep track of the things that you are doing. So here's MongoDB. We are going to use something that helps us work with MongoDB tonight, and that is Mongoose. Chat, what is Mongoose? Anybody know what Mongoose is? Mongoose is dope. It is. It's an ODM. What does ODM stand for? Organization data model. Okay. Object data modeling. There you go. Right. Object data model. Wonderful. And so if we go to their site, they give us this lovely string. Mongoose provides a straightforward schema-based solution to model your application data. Mongoose provides a straightforward schema-based solution to model your application data. All right, let's take a look at this. We know that Mongoose is helping us with a MongoDB. We know that. And let's look at their next line. They tell us about this. Oh, dirty Mongoose. Whenever I think of ODM, I just think it's like a Wu-Tang Clan member that we just don't know of. All right, so the next line they give us is, each schema maps to a MongoDB collection and defines the shape of documents within that collection. So the schema is something that's going to give the documents that exist inside of our Mongo database structure. So the really neat thing about MongoDB is that if you know how to use objects, you can use it. And so the way MongoDB is organized is we just put objects, we're going to call them documents. We put those documents into collections. And so we can have collections of data. We can have a collection for our users. We could have a collection for all the to-do items that we're making. And inside of those collections, we're going to have individual documents that are just like individual objects. And so if you know how to use objects or key value pairs, it makes using MongoDB really, really easy. But the problem that we start to run into as we're building bigger and bigger applications, we're working with more and more developers, is that we want to have some rhyme and reason about what's going into our collections, like the actual documents that are going into our collections, that are going into our database. We want to know, right? We want to know the structure. Why might having like a structure for the things going into our database be a good idea? Why might that be a good idea? We don't want any errors. We want to be organized. We want to make our code readable, right? Somebody doesn't have to come to me and say, Leon, what's going into your database? They can go and look at my schema to figure out what type of data is going to be in my database, right? So it gives us some structure so that we can keep track of what's going on here. All right. Each schema maps to a MongoDB collection and defines the shape of the documents within that collection. So we know that each schema is going to be for one of our collections in our Mongo database, right? So we're going to have a to-do collection and a users collection today. The schema is going to describe what each document is going to look like inside of that collection. Cool. Now, the other thing that we're going to see here in our code is this Mongoose Model. And all this is giving us a way of interacting with the documents that are going to go in and out of our database, right? Models are just fancy constructors compiled from a schema. All right. We know what a constructor is, right? We've had a couple classes on a constructor where we're creating something, right? And so what we're going to do is we are going to be able to create, right, these models that are going to enable us to know how to create and read stuff that's going into our Mongo database. And the beautiful thing is that our code will only really talk to the database through these models. And since we're using Mongoose, we know that the models will use a schema. So now we have a really good idea of how all of our data is going to be structured. And we have a way of interacting with that data when it comes time to building our applications. So yes, Mongoose, so hot right now, it's going to add some structure to our applications so that it makes our code more readable. And when we're working with each other, we know what's happening in our database. We're going to be using EJS tonight. We're going to be using EJS as a way of not having just static HTML. We're going to be able to get some data, plug it into a template, and then respond with that data. All right. We're going to be able to respond with these things. And so we're going to be using EJS as a way, right, as a way of being able to get some data from our database, plug it in, and respond with that HTML. This is just a review. We've been doing this together for a while now. And here's kind of how our original applications were structured, right? Here's how our original applications were structured. We had a client-side device that had a browser. And in that browser, we were making requests to our server. We would make a request from our client-side device to our server. Our server had some code that was listening to that request and knows what to do with it to get a response. Sometimes that code will go and talk to our database. Sometimes that code will take data from our database, plug it into a file so we can respond with it. Sometimes it will go into our database and remove a document. There's lots of things that we can code our API to do. Right? This code right here can do a lot of different things, but it's going to come back to the ability to create stuff, read stuff, update, and delete. So if we're getting stuff, we're probably going to go into our collection and grab some documents. If we are posting, we're going to be creating a new document. If we are putting, we're probably going to go into a document and change something about it. And if we're deleting, we're going to come through and, delete an actual document. So these are all things we've seen before. Just trying to get the juices flowing, get our spaced repetition in, so that when we jump into our code, we can see how all these pieces are coming together. All right. So tonight we are expanding upon our to-do list app. I want to show you the app real quick, and then we're going to talk through how we're actually going to build it. So I have some code here. I shared the code on Discord. I will share an updated version of it after class as well. The updated version of the code will have all of my hidden files. So all my hidden files I don't want you to have right now while we're live. They'll be live afterwards because I will have deleted the application on my end, so there's no trickery that you can do. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this application. Going to do an Npm Start here. Alrighty, my application is running. I better go catch it. And I'm going to come here. And the first thing I'm going to need is I need a password because I'm going to log in. I'm going to show you the login. It's pretty cool. All right, I need my live password. All right, I got my password. And I'm going to open up an incognito window here just to make it easier. All right, so here's our app. So I'm going to create a to-do list by clicking the button below. But you ready, chat? You ready for the thing that we've been missing? Ooh. Oh, look at this login. Okay. Let me go ahead and do this. So I'm putting in my email. Going to put in my password. And here is my beautiful to-do list. But there's some really cool things happening here. This is only my to-dos. So there are more than 2 to-dos. Let's go back and look at our database here. So you can see that there are 3 to-dos here, right? There are 3, but I am only showing 2 because 2 of them are tied to my Resilient Coders email. And 1 is tied to my Xbox handle. So the cool thing here is we have not only the ability to log in, but we have the ability to serve up only the person that's logged in their to-dos. 10-second warning. 10-second warning. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Login? Private to-dos? Let's go. Let's go. Now. Hit the beat. Drop it down. Hey, get it. Look at this. Look at. You can do this. By the end of this class, you will be able to do this. What? What? You'll have full login for your application. Let's go. Let's go. Let's do a raffle. I'm feeling a raffle. That's fire. That's a raffle worthy. Let's do a raffle. Hold on. Let me start this up here. This is an Azure credit raffle here. All right. This is an Azure credit raffle here. Exclamation point raffle to get in here. Exclamation point raffle. I'm gonna lead the party up. Let's go. Let's this raffle, folks. Exclamation point raffle. Let's go. $100 of Azure credit. Let's go. All right. Gonna close it up here. I'm gonna pick a winner. JK Fed. Hey, congrats. Congrats on the Azure credit. Let's do another one. Let's run it back. Let's keep it going. We got a lot of credit to get out here. Let's go. Let's run it back. Another one. Another one. Another one. Alrighty. Gonna go ahead. It's open. Let's keep it going. I'm bringing back the music. Let's do some of our work music here. This is huge. By the end of tonight's class, you will be able to understand how to build an application that has login, thanks to Microsoft's identity platform, thanks to Azure AD. This is huge. All right. Gonna close the entries here. Let's pick a winner. Crusher bait. Hey, there you go. Congrats. Let's do one more. Let's do one more. One more. All right, it's open. Exclamation point raffle. Get back in here. Let's go. Let's go. Get back in here. That's some big stuff. Alrighty. Get in here. Let's go. Alrighty. Gonna close it. Gonna pick a winner. Cheese, please, with the $100 of Azure credit. And let's get two swag in here. Let's get two swags in here real quick. Let's get two swags in here. This is a big moment. We've been working up to this for weeks to be able to add authentication to our apps. Let's get a. This is for anyone in the US. This one will be a US one, the Microsoft one here. All right, exclamation point raffle if you want to get into the US swag. Alrighty. Gonna close this one up. Dr. Justin Doe, hey, congrats. And this one's for anyone outside of the US. Anyone outside of the US, we're gonna run one. All right, get in here. Give everybody a few seconds to get in on this one outside the US. All right, I'm gonna close it here. Paratu, hey, congrats. Congrats. Alrighty. Gonna go on a vacation to enter the outside US Raffle. Alrighty. So this is big. We've been working up to a to-do list. All the normal to-do stuff works. And I can let you know something really cool. This is to me one of the coolest things here. Chat, what were we saying that one of the biggest advantages to using something like Azure Adb2c is? Like, what's the biggest benefit? Like, what's one of the really cool things that we get? Security, of course, But like, what about it though? Like, what are we keeping secure? So we don't get got? Yeah, it's user information. So I'm going to show you tonight a bad way and a good way. Right now, this Leon Noel, that's not coming from my database. It doesn't have to. Since I am logged in, right? I logged in to my Microsoft account. I got that information from Azure AD. So that's part of the request that I'm making. I'm getting some information along with my requests. This doesn't have to be in my database anymore. I don't have to worry or stress about user information. I can get that with the request I'm making. It doesn't have to come from my database anymore. That's huge. Could you imagine building a whole app where all of your like actual important user information isn't stored in your database? You don't have to worry about getting got. You can get that, right, from the tools we're going to use this evening. That's huge, especially as a new developer, and you might be wanting to build something for prime time, put it out there for real. It's not something you want to have to worry about. So I think that's really neat. And I'm going to show you how we get there in a little bit, but cool. Normal to-do list. We have the ability to mark stuff complete. We have the ability to delete stuff. And I can log out if I want to. Cool. So I've logged out. Let me try and go to /to-dos. Can't get there, folks. Can't get the /. Let me try it again. Let me do it again. /to-dos. Can't get there. I'm not logged in anymore. I can't even get to my to-do list because I'm not logged in. Let's go. Crumb Hustler. Hey, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. That's wild. Thank you so much. That is wild, wild, wild. All right. Whew. 10 gifted subs. Thank you so much. And we had a hydration come in. Imran, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. Crumb, I appreciate the support. Thank you for being here. All right. So I've showed you the goods. I've showed you our normal app that we've been building for the past couple weeks. You're going to be able to add authentication. People are going to be able to log in. You're going to be able to keep your user information secure. All right. And we're going to be able to make it so that people can't go to all the parts of our application. I can't get to to-dos, right? I can't get to to-dos unless I'm logged in. This is why I love the code, folks. Like this to me is the coolest stuff ever. The idea that we've been only doing backend for what? Less than a month. And by the end of tonight, you'll be able to build a full stack web application with login, with authentication, like all this stuff. And it just works. It blows my mind. And so I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that we get to use these tools and build cool stuff. And I'm so excited that I don't have to be a cybersecurity expert to figure all this stuff out. All right. Chat, real quick. We've done this before. We're talking about building out our API, the creating, the reading, the updating, deleting. What are we creating? What are we creating with our to-do list? Yeah, we're creating the to-dos. Nice. So we're creating the to-dos. What are we reading with our to-do list? What are we reading? Like, what are we getting? What are we getting? The to-dos, right? The to-do items, right? So our to-do list creates stuff. It creates a to-do. Like, we're going to put a to-do into eventually our database, right? But we can also get or read stuff, right? Where we get information out of our database, right? And so if we were to quickly draw out what the creating or the making of the to-do would look like, we would have our client-side device, like our phone or our tablet or our desktop. We would have a form where we filled in the to-do. We would submit that form, and it's going to be sent to our server. The server is going to have our API code running on it. The API code is going to hear that post request, and based on that post request, it can take all the information that came along with this form. That post request can take all that information and put it into a document that is in our Mongo database. Now, we talked a little bit earlier today. What's the only way that how are we going to interact with our MongoDB database today? We've used the MongoDB client just directly in the past. We used MongoDB directly in the past. What are we using today? Mongoose, right? And our model. So when we make a post, we're submitting, in this case, a form to add a to-do to our to-do list. That request gets sent to our server. And there's some code running on our server, our API, that hears that post request and is going to enable us using Mongoose to put that data into our database. Cool. Now we're talking about the reading or the getting. Chat, what are we getting? So when I'm on my client-side device and I make it to the to-dos page because I'm logged in now, what am I getting? I'm on my to-dos page on my client-side device. What am I getting? Yeah, I want some HTML. I want some CSS. I want some JavaScript. I want to be able to see all of my to-dos in the browser, right? The only way that we're going to be able to see the to-dos in the browser is if we get that information from the server. So from my client-side device, I make a GET request. And running on my server is some code that can hear the GET request. And when it hears the GET request, it goes to my database. Right? It grabs all of my documents, all of the to-dos that I have stored in my Mongo database. And once it gets all of these documents, what does it put them in? What does it do with them? I already see some folks knowing here. Yeah, we have all these documents, right? So we want it to load the to-do page. We want to see all the to-dos. So we made a GET request. The server says, oh, you're trying to get all the to-dos? Let me go to the database. Let me get all of the to-dos that are in the database. And let's plug them into EJS. EJS is just a fancy template. It's a fancy template that we can plug all of our data into, and EJS spits out HTML. It spits out HTML. And then the cool thing is we respond with that HTML. All right? So we try to load up the to-dos page. That makes a request, a GET request to our server. Our server hears the request. It goes and gets all the data out of our database. Once we have all this data, we plug it into a template. And that's where we're going to generate our HTML. Then we respond with that HTML back to our client. So we've been able to create stuff. We've been able to read stuff. With this application, we can also update. Chat, what are we updating? What are we updating in this app? Izzy, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. Arabog, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. Yeah, we're updating our to-dos. We're marking our to-dos as done or not done. Cool. And then last, we're deleting. What are we deleting in this case? We're deleting our to-dos. Cool. So that's everything that our application is doing. We have the same flow that we've seen before. We're making requests from the client. It's going to our API. Our API knows what to do. Sometimes it's talking to the database. Sometimes it's putting stuff into EJS files so that we can send back the results to our user. Sometimes we're deleting documents. Sometimes we're updating documents. We got all of this stuff going on. Cool. Now, we saw something really cool, and it's the biggest question of the night. What if I only want our users to see their own to-dos? What if I don't want them to see every single person's to-do that it's in our list? What if I only want them to see their own? Thank you, Microsoft. Boom, adding authentication, right? We're going to use Microsoft Identity to add authentication to our applications so only our logged in users can see their to-dos. Not everyone's, just theirs. Let's go. Let's go. All right, so we're going to use Microsoft Identity using the Azure Active Directory, but we're going to use some tools that are going to help us use these things. And so we're going to take a break because we're at the top of the hour. When we come back from our break, we are going to dive in and start looking at the code, figure out all the pieces, ask tons of questions, and then we're going to do our raid. We're going to see how the whole app works tonight. Your homework is to keep working on the app, keep using all the stuff that we have going here. Sunday, we'll be going through it from scratch. So if you want to come back on Sunday, we'll be going through it from scratch as well. So let's go ahead and put, let's put a 5-minute timer on here. Angel, hey, thank you so much. Thank you for the 6 months. Let's go. All right, so 5 minutes on the clock here. I'm going to open up a Raffle. For some lovely Azure credit here. So while you're taking a break, go ahead and enter in that Raffle. Put some break music on here. And take a break. We're here for the long haul, for the rest of our careers. So please, stay healthy, get up, hydrate, do what you gotta do. And we'll be back together soon. Whew. I'm pumped. I'm ready to look at some code. Emma the bomb with the stretch. Hey, let me get my stretch in real quick. You know it's not that kind of stream. Somebody said, hey, Leon, I downloaded the code from Git, but when I loaded it up, the file opens with a large font. How do I change it? There is a hidden VS Code file. So let me show you real quick. This hidden VS Code file right here, this JSON settings, you can either delete this or change these settings. It's the settings I use because I use them all the time on stream just so y'all can see what I'm typing. Izzy, all the ones in the US definitely went out. If you're having trouble with yours, let me know. Send me a mod mail. Who won the slides contest? We don't know yet. I'm still working through them. I want to make sure that I give everyone a fair shot looking through all the things that were submitted. So we'll probably hopefully know by Sunday. But yeah, it's a lot to go through. Is the Microsoft Identity free? Yes. So anyone can create an Azure account for completely free. A lot of the things that we're using come completely free when you create that account. Yeah. Day 2 of the new job and different. That's awesome. Congrats. I'm glad it's going well. Pretty great. Sounds good to me. Yeah, congrats on the new job as well. Again, that's awesome. You working on anything cool and different? Do we not have class Thursday? We definitely have class on Thursday. Yep. We definitely have class on Thursday. On Thursday, we're going to keep adding to this. So we're going to add off tonight. And on Thursday, we're going to add some more things to our applications now that we have authentication. So Microsoft, we're eating, right? We got the authentication tonight. We're going to add more features on top of it on Thursday. And then on Sunday, we'll do it all from scratch. What do I have to do to win a raffle? Didn't you already win one? Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Internal tooling, but it's greenfield. Ooh, nice. All right, folks, you got a minute. I got my stretch in. If you're able to, please get a stretch in. Hydrate. We're about to look through a lot of code. Right now, I saw somebody ask about the code. Right now, if you look at the code, my secret files are not pushed. After class is over, I'll push it with all my secrets, but I'm going to delete the application on my end. So you could try using those credentials, but it won't work. You're going to have to plug in your own credentials. I'm going to walk you through how to get those credentials. 30 seconds, folks. New job is stretching my brain. Does that count? Absolutely counts. Why not avoid pushing secrets? Teach best practices. Of course we're teach best practices. Get out of here. Getting some nerds angry tonight. Alrighty, folks. Nah, don't ban them. They don't know what we do. Alrighty, folks. Come on back. Come on back. Alrighty, folks. So let's talk about the tools we're going to use tonight. Passport. Yeah, chill the music here. Oh, we didn't end. We got to do the raffle. All right, let me go ahead and end the raffle here. I'm going to close these entries. Pick a winner. Medium fry. Let's go. Congrats on the Azure credit. That is awesome. Alrighty, let's keep going, folks. Let me complete this one. All right, so how are we going to handle the authentication inside of our Node apps? Well, there is an excellent piece of authentication middleware called Node.js. When I say middleware, chat, what do I mean? What do I mean by when I say middleware? Between the request and the response. Yeah, something that has access to the request and the response object somewhere in the middle there. Well, Passport handles the authentication for us inside of our Node applications. Now, there are many ways to do authentication. There are many other tools that you could use besides Passport. Right now, we're talking about the easiest, quickest way to get something up and running that has authentication. We're going to use Passport. Now, the really cool thing about Passport is that Passport has strategies. And so there are over 500 different strategies that if you're using Passport, you can utilize to add authentication to your application. And one of the really cool ones that we'll be using tonight is the Passport Azure AD. And so this is actually a collection of strategies that Passport can use to help us handle authentication. And like I said earlier, the reason why I love this, right, is because I don't have to think about it. I am not a security researcher. I just know that this stuff works. And I trust these very robust open source tools, and I trust the services that we're going to talk to, Azure AD through the Microsoft Identity Platform, right? I trust that these will be working. And so there's a lot of fancy terms. When you start getting into authentication, there's lots of fancy terms, right? And when I start talking about authentication, I get a lot of nerds angry. I'm not a cybersecurity expert. I'm a person that wants to build full stack web applications, and I'm okay using off-the-shelf tools, and I'm really okay using a service that's had 3,500 security experts go through it on their behalf and has more compliance certifications than anything out there. All right. So that's why I rely on these tools to just build my applications and get it moving. Saves me a lot of time, a lot of brain space, and I can go to sleep at night knowing that my applications are secure and that I'm not going to get got and my application data go away. Right. So, very quickly, how Passport is working and how we're going to be using this is that we're going to be using something called an OpenID Connect protocol. All it is a system for handling this authentication. And the really cool thing about this completely free open source protocol is that when we start working with Microsoft Identity Platform, we start working with all of the services they provide really good ways of working with this open protocol, right? So we know that we're using something that's been battle tested, and we know the services that are going to handle our authentication are using something that's ready to go. Now, very quickly how it works, and this is like a complete overview, is if a user's not logged in, so we saw that with our application. I wasn't logged in. Since I wasn't logged in, I got kicked over to Azure's Active Directory. I then logged in, right? I wasn't on my website anymore. I wasn't on my application. If you looked at the URL, I was on Microsoft's site, all right? I logged in. This is a cute GIF. I'm not going to lie. I was looking at all these GIFs for kicking, and this is just the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. All right. So I wasn't logged in. They kicked me over. AAD asked me to sign in. I used my Azure account login. It's going to ask me for some permissions. I apologize for this GIF, Microsoft. It's going to ask me for some permissions. Like, do you want them to have access to all of your emails and fun stuff like that? And then if I agree to the permissions, all right, if I agree to permissions, I get a token. Okay, I get a token. So I have gotten kicked to Microsoft. I've logged in. Since I've logged in, they've given me a token. Now that I have this token, whenever I make a request, I can show up with my token and get access to the things that I want. So whenever I make a request to do something, I can use that token, and Azure AD will see that token and give me things like, oh, my name, my email, the things that are associated with my user account. All right. So this is like a super, like, we're like a mile up in the sky idea, right? Mile up in the sky idea. To me, it's just magic, right? You don't have to understand how this protocol works. You don't have to understand how it's doing its job. We will get to it later on Thursday. We're going to kind of nerd out over this piece, right? We're going to nerd over like what this protocol is, how it's doing its job. But for tonight, you don't need to know. It's magic. We got a little bit of warning here. A little bit of warning. It's magic. Brought to us by Microsoft Azure and Active Directory. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know for right now. It's a magic. Microsoft's making it happen. Some really battle-tested open source software is making it happen. That's all you need to know. Don't get hung up on it. That's all you need to know. And if you have questions about this, this is the guy. This is Christos. This is who we are going to raid after this stream. Now, me, I don't deal with this stuff all day. I don't deal with the authentication stuff. I don't deal with the security behind it. Christos does. This is their bread and butter. Look at them. You can tell. Come on, look at this. That is a cybersecurity expert if I ever saw one. They are going to be able to answer all of your questions about how this is working, how Azure AD and Adb2c can actually help you with your authentication. So I'm going a little sparse here for tonight, and I want you to save your big brain 300 IQ questions, not for me, but for them. Because look, you know you trust this person, right? You know you trust them. You know they're going to be able to answer all your questions. So if you're curious about how all this magic is happening, we're going to raid. And Christos is going to answer all of our questions about this topic so that we feel comfortable building our apps on top of it. So that's who we're raiding after this stream. I'm super excited for it. They're super knowledgeable. They're really good at explaining these things. And the really cool thing is they have their own Twitch channel, 425 Show, which you all should have followed. If not, we're going to raid them. We're going to follow them then. All of these lovely raffles are because they wanted to sponsor us. They wanted us to build applications on top of their lovely work. And so that's what we're going after this stream. All right. For now, I'm going to embrace the magic. Here's live footage of me using Passport and AAD. I love it. All right. Let's do a raffle, and then we're going to look at some code. All righty. I'm going to start let's do an Azure credit raffle. Azure credit raffle. It's open for everyone. All right, I'm going to go ahead and seal this one up. I'm going to pick a winner here. Ty Winter. Woo, let's go. Congrats. Congrats on the Azure credit. Nice. Let's go ahead and do a US swag. US swag. Open that up right now. All right, it's open. It's for anyone in the US, please. US only, please. Sean, hey, thank you for the 4 months. I don't know if the sub ones work through that. I'm not sure. You might want to do another exclamation point raffle in there if you're just to be safe. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close these. Thank you for the 4 months. I appreciate you. All right, closed it. I'm gonna go ahead and pick a winner. Solo dev, let's go. Congrats. All right, and we're gonna do one more here. We're gonna do a, outside the U.S. swag as well. So here's open exclamation point raffle outside the U.S. swag, please. Alrighty. Let me go ahead and close this one. And we're going to pick our winner. Imran, let's go. Excited to get that swag your way. Bond said, are you rich? No. Microsoft is graciously sponsoring this class. Congrats, everyone. All right, let's dig into this real quick. All right, we're going to build an app with Passport and Express. We're going to have some key steps. We're going to talk through these key steps, see the code, and then we are going to work through the code base together. And that'll take us to our time today. And then we're going to raid Christos and the 425 crew. They're going to answer some of your nitty gritty questions. And then on Thursday, we're going to come back. We're going to add more stuff on top of this. And Sunday, we're going to go through it all from scratch. Alrighty, let's keep pushing here. Alrighty, if you never set up a project before, this is how we set up our projects. We're going to create a folder. We're going to move into that folder. We're going to do npm init. Chat, what does npm init do for us? Yeah. It sets up our package.json. It's where we're going to store all of our dependencies and everything that we're going to need to build our application. Here is the shorthand for all of the things that we're going to use tonight to build our application. Cool. Right now, if you're using my code base, I have a hidden config file and an environment file that you can't see because I put it in my git ignore and you can't see it. After class, I'll push it so you can have access to everything that's in that file. We're going to use the same setting up of our database that we've used previously in our applications. We're using Mongo for this. So we're going to see that same syntax that we used before. Nothing's changing here. We're going to set up our server and going to work through kind of requiring all of our packages. We're going to make sure we're getting our hidden stuff in, and we're going to be using Passport. Don't worry, I'm just speed running this. We're going to see it together live. We are going to connect our database. And so we have just all the pieces here for you. So if you want to come back through these pieces, they're all here for you just to kind of see the steps that we're going to work through tonight. But I want to talk about one pattern, and then we're going to start looking at the code. Cool. Let's start looking at let's look at this pattern called MVC, and then we're going to start looking at the code. So chat, what does MVC stand for? Nice. Model view controller. Exactly. And what is this? What is it? What is like? I know it stands for MVC, model view controller, but what is it, chat? Marvel versus Capcom. It's an architecture. Yeah. It's some people are saying design paradigm. It's an architecture for our code, right? It's a system for keeping ourselves organized as we're writing our code. So the goal for this project and the goal for folks joining us tonight and Thursday and Sunday is to have a body of work, right? A body of work that you can come back to and build off of. And so I'm going to be using the MVC architecture in my code. And so it makes sense that we just talk about it very briefly. So I'm going to try drawing this out real quick because it's going to be the way that my code is set up. I'm expecting a user, that this is my user, to be using some sort of device, like a client-side device. And we're going to assume that that user is using a client-side device that has a browser. Actually, let me do this over again. Sorry, poor user. So we're going to have a user that has a browser. Cool. Now that user is going to make requests using their browser. Right? It's going to be using their browser to make requests. What kind of requests can our user make? The user is cute. What type of requests have we talked about tonight? Gets. Exactly. What else? Posts, puts, deletes. Exactly. All of our CRUD requests. Nice. Now, those requests are going to hit a section of our code that we're just going to call our router. The router is going to see that code come in and know what controller to hand it off to. Chat, what does the controller do? Exactly, it's the person in the middle. All right? It figures out, all right, you've made this type of request. Here's what I need to do. Sometimes it's just going to tell our view to render. Our view being the views, like the actual things that our user is going to be able to see and interact with. So sometimes the controller just hands a request off to the view. It says, hey, view, give me some HTML that I can send back to the browser. Give me some HTML that I can send back to the browser. Right? Sometimes the controller has to talk to the what, though? Sometimes the controller has to talk to the what? Yeah, the model. And I'm not talking about Christos here. All right? I'm not talking about Christos here. Let's look at this model. Hold on. Where are they at? Where are they at? I'm not talking about Christos here when I talk about model. All right? I'm talking about something else. Chat, what does the model do for us? Where am I at? What does the model do for us? It talks to the database, exactly. So the model is going to talk to our database. Beautiful. Now, the cool thing about this architecture is that it doesn't matter what we're using for our views, and it doesn't matter what database we're using or how we talk to it. If we stick to this structure, right? If we stick to this structure, we can have an application, right, that is more maintainable, right? Each of our concerns are separated out. If I want to use React over here, I can. If I want to use Vue, I can. If I want to not use MongoDB, I want to use Postgres, I can. And so the cool thing about the code that we're building tonight, right, is that since we're following this MVC architecture, you will be able to use this code with anything that you really feel comfortable with. You want to swap out how we're handling the views. You don't want to do EJS. You want to do handlebars. You can. You don't want to use MongoDB. You want to use Postgres. You can. And so I'm really excited to kind of show you this code, talk through it, knowing that this architecture is in place for you. So no matter where you're coming from, you can come back to this class. You can come back to this code and build. So let's get into it. So I'm going to run the application one more time. Let's just chill all of our servers here. If you need access to the code, in the actual video, if you're watching this on YouTube, the link to the code will be there. If you're watching live right now, you can do !Discord. Our Discord has links to everything. Okay. So let's go ahead and start our server here. Npm Start. My server is running. Let's go catch it. Let me go ahead and actually, I'm going to go ahead and grab my password here real quick using LastPass right here, just what we use at my company. I'm going to go ahead and grab my password. No. Okay. That was close. Let me grab the password here because I have login, so I actually need my real password. All right. I grab my password. Let's go ahead. My server's running on localhost 2121. If you know, you know. Cool. We're here. We're going to click this button, and it's going to take us to log in. So we weren't logged in, so we got kicked over. All right. I'm going to pass in my email. I'm going to pass in my password here. And then I get kicked back. And when I get kicked back, I have this lovely token I use now, right? And I can actually get data from Microsoft. So my name's actually coming from Microsoft. It's not something I hard coded. There's no form here. Look, the form here is the to-dos. There's no way that I could have given my name to this application. There's nothing in the form here for my name. This is coming from Microsoft, all right? And so let's go ahead and start looking through how all this happens. So if you have the code, I'm going to start by walking through my server.js file here. So in my server.js file, I have all the things that we've been used to so far. I am using Express to help me build out my API. I am using Mongoose to help me with my models and talking to my database. I'm going to be using Passport because it comes with this really nice strategy that we can use to talk to Microsoft's identity platform. I'm going to be using Express Session so that I can stay logged in, right? I want to be able to stay logged in across pages. And so Express Session and Connect Mongo are going to help me do that, okay? So I want to be able to stay logged in. I want to be able to go to different pages and be logged in. That's what's going to help me with. And then you see that I'm asking for my database file. And this database file is actually inside of my config folder, right? So that this syntax right here is enabling me to go into my config folder and get a file called database. And so if we go ahead and take a look at that real quick, here is a file that enables me to connect to my Mongo database. So right now we are using MongoDB as our database, and we are using Mongo Atlas to host it. So if you haven't participated in our earlier classes, you can use Mongo Atlas. It's very easy to go in and set up a new database. You can come into Mongo Atlas. You can go ahead and create a new project. You can go ahead and give that project a name. Hello, Twitch. You can say, you know what, I'm going to keep all my normal users, create the project. And we're going to build a cluster. We're going to do it for free. We're going to use Azure, of course. Use the server that's closest to you and create. Now, this is going to take a few seconds to provision. It's completely free, though. It just takes a few seconds for them to set it up. So we'll come back to it and get the information we need, but we're using MongoDB. We're using Mongo Atlas. We've used this all throughout class. This is just for folks that are joining us that haven't been part of class. We'll come back to that in a bit. This file right here is how we connect to our database. You really don't need to know what's going on in here except for two things. One, you can see that we are using a DB string. This is the unique string to my database, like how I'm going to connect to my database that Mongo Atlas is provisioning for me right now. Once you create a database, right? Once you create a database, you can go to that database. So let me look here. with auth. That's the one we were using tonight. I can go to connect your application, and it's going to give you this string right here. This string is what I am using to connect to my database. Now, that string is going to be put into my env file, my environment file. It's a file that I'm never going to push to GitHub. I'm never going to share, so nobody has access to connecting to my unique database. All right. So if we look in the env file, you can see my string. It's all right. Go ahead and steal it if you want. But this is my string. The beautiful thing about the env file is I can use this file throughout my application. Right? I can put like a lovely variable in here and then use this value anywhere else in my application. So when we are looking at this database.js file, what we are looking at is the ability, right? The ability to pull in that string right here, and we're going to use that to connect to our database. The other cool thing in here is that it's going to tell us that we are connected. And we'll actually see that little console log here, or the log here in the terminal here, that'll tell us that we're connected. So when I started my server here, we saw that I was connected, and it showed me what database I was connected to. Cool. Now, Rudy asked a very good question. Leon, how much of this do you know by heart, and how much of it is a template? It's all a template. There's no way that I'm going to sit here and memorize these things. And I don't want you to memorize these things for class, right? I want you to be able to come back to this code base and be able to pick the pieces that you need, right? Use the parts that you want, and the parts that you don't need, you can let them go. And so we're working through this together, just that you know what every piece does, but it's up to you to figure out what pieces you want and don't want. So my goal is that you will take this code and start building your apps on top of it. Tonight's the overview. We're working through kind of like all the building blocks that are together, and then we'll do it together from scratch. Yeah. All right. Yeah. We'll do it from scratch. Right. But for now, worry about the pieces, how they're connected, how they're coming together, ask questions about that, and then really realize that like even the best developers in the world, they don't have this memorized, right? Because I'm going to go to the documentation. I'm going to go to the MongoDB documentation to get something like, the Mongoose documentation to get something like this. When we get the passport, it's going to look really scary. I didn't code that out. I grabbed it from their documentation, right? Yeah, right now, Cheeky Devil, you won't be able to start it on your own because I have hidden my env files and my config.js from you. So you won't be able to get this running just yet. So, all right, let's go back to our server.js. We have pulled in our database. And the reason we pull in that database file that's connecting to our database is so that we can run this command right here. This connect database is the actual call that's going to connect us to our Mongo database. Right here, we went and grabbed this database file. And if we look at the database file, chat, what is this database file exporting? What is it exporting? Like, what's actually getting exported from this file? It's a function. Exactly. It's a function. So if we look very closely, we got a function that we're going to export. And so the cool thing is we can export that function, and where we see ConnectDB, what are we actually holding right now? What are we actually holding in ConnectDB right now? Yeah, we're holding a function. And so then on line 17, what am I really doing? I'm calling that function. I'm telling it to run. And that's what's going to actually connect me to my database. All right. So it's that actual call that's going to connect me to the database. Awesome. We see some other things here that are really important, and we've seen in the past. we are going to go into our config folder and get our env file, right? Get our env file. And what this is doing is enabling us to use this env file in our application, right? So I have this env file, close your eyes, that has my hidden stuff in it. And this line of code enables me to use those hidden bits of information. And what I'm eventually going to do is make sure that that env file and my config.js file are in my git ignore, so that when I push my code to GitHub, all of those lovely, juicy secret bits aren't pushed along with my code. That way people can't come, grab our credentials, and run amok, right? You just got those sweet, sweet Azure credits. You don't want somebody else stealing them. Cool. Next down here, Count shows you got a light bulb moment. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome. Down here, I have 3 more things that I'm requiring. Right? 3 more things that I'm requiring. And these are going to be my routes. Remember, our users are going to make a request. Right? Our users are going to make a request. Our server is going to be set up to hear that request and hand that request off to the appropriate controller. All right? Hand it off to the appropriate controller. Now, there are 3 different types of requests that are going to come into this application. I'm going to have some requests that are just a generic request, like we're just trying to go to the main page. All right? So localhost 2121, that's a generic request. We're going to have some requests that we need for our authentication. And we're going to have some requests for our actual to-dos. Cool. So what I want to be able to do is start separating out those 3 different kinds of requests. Just the random, like the home page, the requests for making to-dos, deleting to-dos, updating to-dos, and the requests that'll all be there for my authentication. Okay? And so these 3 requires are all about pulling in my different route files so I know where to send those requests. All right? Talked about MVC. Client makes a request. The route hears that request and hands it off to the appropriate controller. I want to make sure that my requests are making it to the appropriate controller. Alrighty. I have a few more other things here that are going to help us set up this application. Then we're going to start looking at the actual code. We are going to require our passport. We're going to come back and look at this in a second. Once again, if we look at this real quick, and we just look at this piece right here, the piece that I've highlighted right here, what do you know about that require? We don't have to look at the file. What do we know about this require? What is it going to give us? What is it spitting out? What does that require spitting out? Yes, it's some sort of function. And how do we know it's a function? How do we know it's a function? Yeah, we see the parentheses afterwards. Exactly. We have these lovely parentheses afterwards. And the cool thing is we can require a whole file that's going to handle all the passport stuff, and we can pass in the actual passport to it. So we have this file that's going to handle all of our passport stuff, and we're going to come back to that in a second. This block of code we've seen all before. We know that we're going to be using EJS as our view engine, right? As a view engine. We know that this is what we're going to pass our data into to spit out our HTML, right? We could have used, right? We could have used, say, handlebars. We could have used pug. We use anything that we want. but we're going to use EJS just because the syntax we've seen before and we're a little bit more comfortable with it. We have our express static. This is going to enable us any of our static files, our JavaScripts, our CSS files. We don't have to write individual routes for them. Express will just handle serving those up on our behalf. And then we have 2 more lines that are going to help us when it comes to looking at data that's being sent with our requests. So we might have used something like body parser in the past. That is built into our Express now. So if we want to be able to peel out the pieces that are coming along with each of our requests, we can just use these 2 lines. Next, we have some things that we're going to need for Passport and for keeping our users logged in. This code right here, our session, is all about, as we're moving through our application, keeping our users logged in. And line 30 is a special line because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be storing each of our sessions into our Mongo database. That means we can keep track of our sessions in our database for now. So that way we can do fancy things like restart the server or have the page refresh, and our users can still stay logged in if we want them to stay logged in. This is a tricky bit. We'll definitely spend more time on this on Thursday, but it's just a way of making sure that once our users log in, they're able to stay logged in. We have some middleware for Passport, right? To set up Passport, to set up our session so our users can stay logged in. And we have our server that's listening, right? So our server is getting ready to run. So this is all the stuff that we set up for our application just to be ready to rock and roll. Whenever I've seen things before, like this is a lot. This is overwhelming, right? This is a lot. So ask questions. We're going to talk through it all. Cool. We have all the things that we've required. Once again, just pulling in our special environment variables, setting up Passport, connecting to our database, making sure that we're using our EJS templates, make sure that all of our static files are hosted, making sure we can look at all of our requests that are coming in, making sure that our users can stay logged in, make sure Passport can set up right, make sure our app is actually listening, once again, on the port that we want it to. This is 2121. And then we have our lovely routes, right? Our lovely routes. This is so that if somebody makes a request to just a generic route like localhost 2121, they'll get sent to this file. If they are using an auth route, like they need to do some sort of authentication, they'll get sent to one of these routes. And if they want to do anything with to-dos, they'll get sent to these routes here. This just makes it so I could put all of my routes here and all of my controllers here, right? I can put them all there, but I find that I repeat myself a lot, right? I repeat myself a lot, and I don't like having such a big block. So I set up these route files. So if I look at my to-dos routes, you can see that each of the individual requests have their own controller that I'm going to use, all right? So that means I don't have to keep repeating like off/create to do, off/mark complete, off/mark incomplete, off/delete to do, right? Just makes it so it's a little bit more dry. I don't have to repeat myself, and it looks nicer right here. All right. So that's our setup of our individual files. Now, where the rubber really meets the road, right, is this file right here, our Passport file. Let's look at it. It's a doozy. Passport.js has a lot of info in here. We're using a lot of stuff here. Please don't let your eyes glaze over. This is not something that I have memorized. This is something that I get from the strategies that people use for Passport. And the really cool thing is that Azure AD has their own Passport strategy, right? If we go back to my browser here. They have their own strategy. They actually have a bunch of different strategies that we can use. And so all the information that I have here is everything that came from their strategy. I just grab this code and I use it. It is magic to me. I don't care how it works. I don't know how it works. It just works. They have done all the heavy lifting for you, right? So that you can use authentication in your app automagically, right? And so we have to require their strategy. We're going to make sure that we have access to Mongoose in case we needed it. And we're going to require a couple things here. Our config and our first model. Now, the config we need because if you're noticing, I'm using config.creds client ID. There's like a lot of these variables here that I have not hard coded. The beautiful thing is I have a lovely config file. Close your eyes. I have a lovely config file, and this config file has all of my secret bits in it. This is the file that you don't have, right? So after class, I'll push it, and you're going to fill in your own little secrets. We're going to walk through how you get these. This client ID we're going to need to build on Microsoft Azure side in Active Directory to get that. This little string right here is how Microsoft knows what application is making a request, right? So we could build all of our own applications, but how does Microsoft know what application we're talking about? This is part of the ID. So this is going to come from Microsoft for us. All this other stuff is up to you. This is something like you're just going to use this file here. You're going to plug in your own ID. You're going to put in your own whatever port you're running on, right? Whatever port you're running on, you're going to plug those in. So the only thing that you have to change is your client ID from Azure AD. And if you change the port because you're a wild person like me, all right? So that's all you really need in this config.js file is just changing those two pieces. All right. Inside of our passport.js file, we're going to ask for that config file. All right. We're going to ask for that config file so we get all of those secrets, right? And then the other thing we're going to need is our user model. What is our user model going to do? Chat, what do we think our user model is going to do? Chris, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. What does a model do? Yeah, it's going to talk to our database. And it's going to handle everything that we need to know about storing talking about our user data for right now. Hey, Chris, thank you for the raid. Thank you for the 27 people. Whoa, let's go. Hope your stream went well. Hope you're having fun. We are working through a full stack node application that is using Microsoft's identity to handle our authentication. So we're working through all of the really complex bits that are here right now. So thank you for joining us. Hope your stream went well. All right, let's go. Thank you, Chris. All right, so we have our config that's going to give us all of our secrets and then our user model. Let's look at the model real quick. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. It's going to enable us to store a Microsoft ID, and it's also going to store a display name. I don't have to store the display name. Really, the only thing I want to store in my users is the Microsoft ID. But I put some other stuff in here in case you're not taking advantage of the wonderful perks of using this security that comes with our Azure AD platform, right? But what this is going to enable me to do is I'm going to use this user model to create a user in my database. Like the end result will be this. The end result will be, if we look at our collections, I will have users. Oops, sorry, wrong one. I will have users. And those users will have a Microsoft ID stored. Let me make this a little bit bigger. They have a Microsoft ID stored and a display name stored. Like I said earlier, I don't need to store the display name, but I wanted to make this a little bit more flexible in case you're storing your own stuff about users. And you saw my Xbox Live handle, because I can use Xbox Live to log in. My Xbox handle to log in, and that's my old Xbox handle. Now, I don't know if anybody really knows what down plus B comes from. If you know what down plus B comes from, you're a triple OG. That's all I'm going to say. Down plus B comes from Pokemon. There was a rumor back in the day that if you did down plus B, when you tried to catch your Pokemon, you would actually catch them. And so I just remember being like a little kid, like smashing it, hoping to hopefully catch my Pokemon. I still do it too. I can't shake it. Even with the modern games, I still do it every time. Cool. So my user model is going to help me to create these user documents that go into my users collection. And you can see based on the schema, they're going to have a Microsoft ID and a display name. And this is really cool because if we look at this passport.js file, once all this stuff is verified, right, we have this function that's going to run. And let's take a look at this function. Is just beautiful. This function is going to run. And what the function is going to do is it is going to enable us to create a new user. Once I have logged into Microsoft, all right, once I have logged in, I'm going to start getting all of this really cool information with each of my requests. All right. With each of my requests, I'm going to get some really cool information. Let's look at it. With every request I send, here's what's coming along. All right. I'm getting an ID. Right? I'm getting an ID. I'm getting a display name. And there's a bunch of other stuff that could be plugged in here too if I had filled out my account better. All right. So the cool thing is, once I have connected, right? Once I have logged in and I have connected, I get all this data that's stored in my Microsoft account. And what I'm doing right here is once all this happens, once we connect, you can see that I have this like profile value right here. And profile is holding all of this stuff for me. All right? It's holding all this stuff for me. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use all this information. And what I'm going to do here is I am going to try and see, right, if there is a user, right, if there is a user in my database that has the Microsoft ID that just came back from Microsoft. Right? I'm trying to see if there's a match in my database for someone that has that ID. If there is a match, I'm good. I just move on. But if there's not a match, what am I doing here, chat? What am I doing? If I can't find somebody that has the ID I just got back, what am I doing? What am I doing on this line 41? I'm going to create a new user using my user model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass in a Microsoft ID property. That's the OID that I got back from Microsoft. And for right now, I'm also going to pass in a display name that is the display name I got back from Microsoft, right? Let me look right here. Here's display name, Leon Noel. I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to grab the OID. So the beautiful thing right here is, since I'm using this strategy, once the user logs in, if that user does not exist in my database, if there's nobody that has that Microsoft ID, I'm going to grab these two values and create a new user with those values using my user model. And so with this, I now have the ability to have users in my application. And that's huge. Like, now I have the ability to create new users and have them stored in my database, and I can start associating stuff with my users. So let's step back real quick. Let's look at this. We had a passport.js file that we're using inside of our server. So that's going to require this file. Inside this file, we're pulling in a bunch of secret information, right? We're pulling in a bunch of secret information that's coming from our hidden config file. This is what you're going to need from Azure AD to make this work. And once we have all of this data and the user has logged in, once the user logs in, we're going to start seeing in our request this information here. And what I can do is I can see if there is a user in my database that has that information. If there's not, I create it. And with that, we now start having in our database these users. And if I have users, what can I start doing with my to-dos? Now that I have users, what can I start doing with my to-dos? Yeah, I can start saying this to-do belongs to this user, right? Or if I get all of my to-dos, right? If I get all of my to-dos, I can only show certain ones, right? So now that I have users, I can start to add to my application here, right? Start to add to it. And so let's go ahead and look at my to-dos here. Look at my to-dos. Chat, what do you notice about my, whoops, sorry. What do I notice about my to-dos here? Make this a little bit bigger. What do you notice about my to-dos here? Yeah. Each of my to-dos have a Microsoft ID tied to them. So now the really cool thing is, when I'm creating my to-dos, I can save the Microsoft ID of the logged in user. I can save the Microsoft ID of the logged in user, right? And so since that user is logged in, I can look at their ID and only show to-dos, right, for that user. I could query my to-dos and only grab them. I could grab all the to-dos, right? I could grab all the to-dos and then sort them out, right? It adds a lot of functionality to our app just through these few files. Cool. So if you wanted to get this working, you would need to require passport. You're going to copy my passport file. You're going to not have to change anything in this file. The only thing that you're going to eventually change is in the config. You're going to get a client ID from Azure AD. Okay. Now, whenever I make a request, all this stuff is being sent and I can grab it. So what I want to do is I want to look at a few more things here. there's a little bit more tricky stuff we got to talk about. And then we're going to see some more fun stuff with actually building the application. And what I want to do, though, is do a raffle. We talked through some meaty stuff here. I know that that's a really kind of complicated topic to get through. Let's go ahead and do a raffle here. We're going to do an Azure raffle, an Azure credit raffle. Let our minds relax a little bit. Oh, I got to close the other one. Let me complete it here. Nice. Let's go ahead and do an Azure credit raffle here. Raffle is open. Exclamation point raffle. Somebody talked about how did I get the ID? Well, let's look at our passport file here. I'm going ahead and grabbing this OID here, and I'm calling it Microsoft ID. I could call it whatever I want. I could call it OID if I wanted to be consistent. I just called it Microsoft ID here. This is the ID that Microsoft is giving me. You can call it whatever you want. I think it's just a little bit clearer to say Microsoft ID. It's the ID that's coming from Microsoft. But you get control here. You can name this whatever you want. You can call it pancakes, exactly. And I'm taking this whole object that has the OID that comes from the request and the display name that comes from the request. And I am using that to create my new user. So my new user will have a Microsoft ID property, a display name property, and these values are coming from the request. All right, let's go ahead and close this one up. Let's go ahead and pick a winner. Ooh, boy, you won. Nice. Thanks a lot. So clear. Love you. Hey, I love it. Let's go. All right. So don't freak out about this. The only thing you have to know that right here, you're using that information to create a new user. You can put whatever you want into this new user. Just make sure it matches your user schema. My schema has the Microsoft ID, it has the display name. If I tried to create a user without those two things, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. Cool. Let's come back to our server.js. And I want to look at the actual two big things here. Don't worry. On Thursday, we're going back through this all again. There's a lot going on here. Like I said, I want you to have the code. I want you to be able to see the things that are happening here. We're going to come back on Thursday and keep digging in here. So let's keep pushing. We have some auth routes. And so if we go to our auth routes here, all of this right here, you're going to copy and paste. These are all the routes for handling the login. So right here, when the user logs in, it does some magic. Here are two more pieces of magic. You don't need to know these. These are just magic, right? The only thing that you need to know here is after people log in, what do you want them to do? Right? After people log in, what do you want them to do? So in our case, after they log in, where are we sending them? After we log in, where are we sending them? Yeah, we're sending them to the to-dos. That's the only thing you need to know here. After people log in, where do you want to send them? If we look at my application and we go to localhost 2121 and we inspect this anchor tag, you can see that the anchor tag is auth/login. Auth/login. All right. So my route is going to pick that up. Oops, sorry. We look at our route. It's an auth route. Like if we click that link, right? If we click that link, it's definitely an auth route. Let's look. It's auth. The route is auth. That's a request. It's auth. And it's login. So we're going to go to our auth route. we're going to go to our auth route, and the thing that's going to handle that login request is here. And when we're done logging in, it's going to send us to to-dos. We have a logout route here. This logout route will destroy our session, meaning that it'll log the user out, the session will terminate, and they won't be able to get back to to-dos. All right. So for the authentication, you really don't need to know what's going on in here. The only thing you have to know is like, all right, once somebody logs in, where do I want them to go? All right. Let's look at two more big pieces, and then we'll do some raffles, we'll end it, and we'll do our raid. All right. And then when we come back on Thursday, we're going to keep picking apart at this. We're going to keep moving through it. We're going to keep adding through it. We're going to have some more raffles and fun things to do on Thursday as well. So let's keep moving. All right. So now we have added our authentication. All right. We have set up Passport that's going to handle our authentication for us. We're using the correct strategy. We have the authentication routes set up so that we can log in. If they're logged in, we get kicked to to-dos. If they log in and there's no user that matches their information, we go ahead and create that user in our database. So let's actually talk about our actual application. Let's look at the to-dos routes. If somebody goes to localhost 2121/to-dos, they go to to-dos, what do we want to have happen? So let's look at those routes together. All right. So there was just a request to to-dos heard. Let's go ahead and go to our to-dos routes. Here are our to-dos routes. They're the same routes that we've seen before, except there's one extra piece here. Can anybody spot the extra piece here that we haven't had before? Yeah. We got some middleware. We got some middleware here. And this middleware is the only thing we need to check whether or not somebody is logged in. So what we want to do is if they try to go to /to-dos, right? If they want to go to /to-dos, right? They want to go to /to-dos. The only way this controller gets to do what it wants to do is after this ensure auth runs. So let's go ahead and look at that file. Just a very simple two functions in here. They're going to look at the request, and if the user is logged in, they're going to let the next thing happen. If the user's not logged in, they're going to kick us back to that main page. All right. So all ensure auth does is just checks. All right. They're making a request to this to-do page, right? If they're authenticated, like if they're logged in already, right? If they're logged in already, we're going to move on to that controller. But if they're not logged in, we're going to kick them back to the main page. And so these are the same controllers that we saw before. Right? Whoops, sorry. Let me go back to my routes here. Same controllers that we saw before, but the only way that this controller right here, the get to-dos, is going to run is if they are actually logged in. So it's just a nice little step. You can hide all of these routes, right? You can hide all of these routes. Like they can't get to any of these unless they're logged in if you add this ensure auth before them. So the only thing I did right now is just make sure that they can't get to the to-dos page, right? They can't get to the to-do page unless they're logged in. And once they're logged in, then this controller will run. So let's go to the to-dos controller and let's look at get to-dos. Here's our to-dos controller. And it looks like normal, right? It looks like normal. But let's look at our get to-dos function. This is the to-dos. This is what's going to load all of our to-dos on this page. Stay with me just for a few more minutes. We'll do some Raffles, and then we're going to do our raid. This is our to-dos that are showing up. And what we're doing here is we are doing our normal get to-dos. It's a normal get request. But look what we've done inside of here. What are we doing here? What are we looking at? What are we looking at here? We're looking at the request that's being sent, and the request that's being sent has this user property. All right. And this user property is going to have our Microsoft ID. So we can actually pull that ID, right? We can pull that ID off the request. And by pulling that ID off the request, we can just find documents where it matches, right? So I'm only going to count the documents where the Microsoft ID matches the logged in user, right? So because this, like if we, let's go down here. I'm going to refresh the page real quick. Let me refresh. I just triggered a GET request. If we go back and look at this GET request. Rec.user has been console logged, right? Has been logged. And we can see on that user object, there is the ID of the logged in user and the display name of the logged in user. I can use that if I want. So now I can just look at the request of my logged in users, right? Just the request of the specific logged in user and get just their documents. So we're going to keep expanding on this idea. The idea now that we've added authentication to our applications, we have the ability to create users. We have the ability to see what users are currently logged in. Microsoft IDs are unique to each user, right? We can start using these IDs to start building out our applications, okay? So tonight after class, I'm going to ask you to actively recall. This has been a lot of material. We're going to come back on Thursday and break this down even more. We're going to look more deeply at our actual to-dos, how they're getting created, how we're adding them to our database, how we're keeping track of what's happening. But in between tonight and Thursday, I need you to start picking through this code. I need you to start looking. All right, well, now we're getting our specific to-dos, right? We're getting the to-dos of just the logged in users. And we're going to be able to start using this data. We're going to be able to start passing this to our EJS. So we've added login. Look through this code. When we come back on Thursday, we're going to spend the whole class really just understanding this pathway. The user's logged in. How do we use that they're logged in to get the things that we want? How do we start saving stuff into the database that's just tied to that user? How do we get stuff out of the database that's just tied to that user? And we're going to keep building off of all the wonderful things that Microsoft provides for us. So what I want to do is I want to do I just want to do one more round of Raffles, and then we're going to raid Christos, and they're going to have some Raffles for you, and we're going to have some fun questions for them. All right, so let's do one more round of Raffles here. I'm going to go ahead and open up. Going to start an Azure credit raffle here. This is for anyone. Go ahead and get in here for me. Alrighty. Going to go ahead and close this one. Going to pick a winner here. Ellie, Ema, hey, let's go. Congrats. Congrats. Let's go ahead and do a swag. In the US only, please. In the US only for this swag. The entries are open. Go ahead and get in here for me. Going to go ahead and close this one. Fire extinguisher. Hey, congrats on the swag. We're going to do a in the US only. Sorry, outside of the US only, please. So outside of the US, please. All right, get in here, get in here. And I'm going to go ahead and close it up. I'm going to go ahead and pick a winner. Suma, let's go. Congrats on the win. Alrighty, folks. We started to show a lot of stuff tonight. I know that this adding off stuff is pretty wild, but the cool thing here is if we look at our database, you can see that we're storing the actual IDs that are tied to the users. This is amazing. It's going to add so much stuff to our applications. It's wild. So I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about authentication, learning a little bit about Microsoft's identity platform, their Azure AD, and the cool things we can do with it. Let's go spend some love to the 425 show for sponsoring us. Let's send them some love. Let's send them some follows. They got some fun stuff for you. And we're going to come back on Thursday. We still got some credit to give out, folks. We still got some swag to go. And we're going to spend all of Thursday's class just breaking down this code. So I know it's a lot to kind of get to at the end. We've had a lot of our brains have melted a little bit. So we're going to come back on Thursday. We're going to dig through the code. Between now and Thursday, I need you to look at it. I need you to pick it apart. I need you to think of some questions. And on Thursday, we're going to spend the whole stream digging through the code, answering your questions, building on top of the to-do list. Let's go. We got some auth going. Let's end it with a lovely raid. Let's go say what's up to Christos. Let's raid. Alrighty, folks. See you over there. Let's do it.